That was your meal for the day. This kid spent his entire life trapped in an underground base, and he doesn't even have a name. The routine was always the same, writing every morning, walking across the bunker to class, learning how to survive in an apocalypse, and then going to physical training with a ton of weight. The only thing he ever wanted was to one day get out of there and find his mother. A guy comes up from behind and tells him his mom is dead, that she jumped off a bridge. This makes the kid furious because the guy treating him like a prisoner is literally his own father. The buttchin who built this giant base to keep them safe from an apocalypse he swore was coming. So everything that brought the kid joy, the father would destroy, saying it was for his own good. Until one day the kid found a hidden book that showed the world outside. The father found out, kicked him in the face, and took the book away just so the kid wouldn't get false hope. During a training session, the kid struggled, and the father reached out his hand. For a moment the kid thought his father had changed and actually felt sorry for him. But the old man grabbed his hand and swung him so hard the kid went flying across the room.
Come on, son. Rule number 1, never trust anybody.
Lying on the floor and defeated, the kid saw his chance to get back at everything. He grabbed a shard of glass and lunged at his father. As he was getting close, he started wondering why his father wasn't reacting, since he's a guy who never lets his guard down. Out of nowhere, the father turns around with a psycho smile, dodges the attack and kicks him in the face, knocking the kid out cold. When he woke up, his father was holding the glass shard, calling him a failure, and saying he would now train twice as hard. When the old man leaves, the kid notices the machine motors are off, and for the first time hears noises behind the wall, proving there are still people alive out there. At that moment, he becomes completely sure that his father has been lying about everything, and that his mother is alive somewhere. He goes back to sleep, swearing to himself that he will escape this prison. His father was walking down the hall when he got an emergency call, and found out something that made him change all his plans. Sometime later, the kid wakes up tied to a chair and confused, asks if that was a hard mode training. The father made it clear that the plans had changed, and that the training was over. The protagonist got even more lost, and started freaking out trying to break free. The old man lets out an evil laugh and starts beating the kid, telling him to shut up. But it didn't work. The kid struggled so much that he managed to snap the rope and break free. When the father got close, he noticed something strange. For the first time he saw the old man crying, and realized that behind that monster there was a sad man. But he immediately takes another punch that knocks him out again. The last thing he heard from his father was that someday he would understand everything. When he woke up again, he was thrown in a cell. He sat on the floor and started remembering his classes, where he learned the first rule to survive the apocalypse: never leave the base. The place has a system and enough food for him to live 126 years inside all alone. But out of nowhere, a mechanism breaks down, and every single door in the base swings open at once. The protagonist's eyes go wide, and the first thing he does is bolt. The kid throws every rule he learned out the window, and escapes at the first chance he gets. When he opens the hatch and sticks his head outside, his jaw drops, seeing the city and other people for the very first time. Since his father flat out lied to his face, he runs as far away as possible, and never looks back. On the way he sees kids playing and people just chilling in the street, which is a massive relief, but the peace didn't last long. Everything around him starts shaking, and birds fly off in a panic. Looking up at the sky, he realizes the sun is being swallowed by another planet. Some bizarre virus-like thing connects with Earth, and monsters start invading everywhere. At that moment, the protagonist remembers the old man's golden rule: never leave the base. And just like that, the apocalypse begins, with the creatures going on a massacre, devouring anyone that moves in front of them. The city turns into complete chaos. The kid just freezes, everyone around him running, and he's thinking only one thing: why the hell did I leave? A tower of monsters twists over the city as Perrin hits the road. Now he knows his father was right. The apocalypse is real. When he lifts his head, another truth hits him. If that warning was real, then losing his mother must be real too. He grits his teeth and accepts that she's gone. Explosions roar, heavy footsteps pound, and crowds run in every direction. The monster swarm charges through the streets, roaring as people flee. As the creatures close in, someone grabs Perrin's arm and yanks him away. It's his father. He drags the protagonist through the chaos, while monsters tear into the crowd, shouting not to stop. Survivors race beside them, and one man gets dragged down and eaten. Perrin keeps running anyway, turning a corner with the horde right behind them. His father warns that more monsters are ahead, pulls him along, and they jump a barrier. The street beyond is jammed with people trying to escape. Cries for help fill the air, as tendrils drag people into the monsters' mouths. They try to go faster, but the tendrils keep closing in, swallowing more people as the swarm advances. At last, they reach a bridge, where people stumble and scream, while monsters crash in behind them. The creatures rip through the crowd, grabbing one man and dragging him away, and Perrin shouts that they're about to get caught. His father yells back that there's no time. The bridge is their only way out. The crowd surges ahead as monsters flood onto the bridge. MC shouts a warning, but a monster lunges first, and wraps its limbs around his leg. He struggles as the tendrils squeeze tighter. His dad smashes the tendrils away with a rock. The monster shrieks and pulls back, but Perrin's leg is hurt, and the horde is closing in. Even so, he forces himself on, and stumbles forward. He squeezes through abandoned cars, feeling the monsters catch up. Then he falls and skids across the road, cursing under his breath. Perrin tells his dad to leave him behind. He can't run anymore. Old memories hit him, of being trapped and ignored. He lowers his head, then his father walks over. He tells him to get up. The protagonist pushes back, asking why he should keep running when there's no way out. His dad says he knows Perrin can do this. MC hesitates, and shakes his head. But his father grabs his hand and hauls him up. Then he tells him to run. Perrin asks what the plan is. Instead of answering, his dad presses something into his hand and tells him to go. There's no time. He has to get off the bridge. He nods and limps away. He weaves between the cars. Then he looks back and sees the bridge shake as the cables snap. The whole thing collapses into the gap below, vanishing in dust and debris. Perrin stops at the edge, barely above a whisper. He calls for his father. He just stares at the ruined city, too shocked to process what happened. When he looks at the pendant, he remembers his dad saying he could survive, that he knew how. Now Perrin starts to wonder if his father planned this from the start. Quietly, he asks why. The timing makes no sense, and somehow he's still alive. He has no idea what to do next. The protagonist remembers dreaming of sunlight and freedom back in the bunker. But even with light glowing in his hand, he's never felt more empty. His mother's face flashes through his mind, and he asks why again. Desperate to know why his dad let it go this far, he yells into the chaos, asking what he's supposed to do now. Then he remembers his dad giving him something, a piece of paper. Perrin grips it tight and stares down, when the ground starts to shake, and a huge monster lands nearby. He runs, but the roaring creature is right behind him. His bad leg catches on debris, and he nearly goes down. Still, Perrin grabs a broken pole and leaps. The monster crashes down, and sends them both sprawling. Struggling back up, he grabs his injured leg and faces the beast. He mutters that this is the end, that he has nothing left. Then a drop of water hits his skin. He notices the crumpled note still in his fist. "Your mom is alive." Perrin screams, demanding to know why he's only hearing this now. As the monster's steps pound closer, MC forces himself up. He refuses to quit, shouting that he's going to find his mother. Then he faces the monster head-on. His dad's voice echoes in his head. Humans can't survive the apocalypse with luck alone. They need strength or brains. Perrin wonders how he's supposed to live through this, as the shaking grows worse, and the beast charges. He yells, but his father's voice cuts in, asking if he's forgotten everything he learned. When the monster attacks, Perrin dodges to its side. He spots a weapon nearby, grabs the creature's arm, and pulls himself up. Then he turns, locking eyes with the rushing beast, ready to strike. He slides under its claws, snatches the weapon, and charges in. Swinging with everything he has, Perrin tells himself he's going to survive. 4 days later, the city is still wrecked, and monsters wander freely. Some stalk through the rubble, while others climb the remains of buildings. The streets are broken, and strangely quiet. By night, survivors hide among the ruins. One man wipes his face and grumbles that it's already been 4 days. Another snaps about the missing police and wonders what happened to them. Before she can finish, a man cuts her off, saying she's making everyone uneasy. Confused, she says she wasn't even talking that loud. He glances at the body behind her, and makes it clear that's the real problem. Muttering that he's losing it, he's approached by a little girl who asks if he's checked every place. He says he has, but there's nothing left. If they want to live, they need supplies. She mentions one place they still haven't checked, and decides to go herself. As she leaves, he thanks her, and admits she's the only one helping. She brushes it off, and heads into the rubble. Soon she finds 2 men, and asks if they've seen any food. Instead, they start eating from a stash they hid. She reminds them the food was supposed to be shared. One shrugs and says nobody agreed to that. She points out they ate from the group supply yesterday, but they act like they don't know what she's talking about. When she says she'll tell the others, they block her and warn her not to. She doesn't back down. The bald man laughs and says she has nowhere to run, but he still steps aside. Then a scream rings out nearby. Both men freeze. One asks if that was a scream, while the other tries to stay calm and says it sounded far away. They should be okay. Then he spots something ahead. The girl crouches, and the bald man makes fun of her for acting brave. A moment later, she turns and heads back through the rubble. The same man from before sees her, and relieved, asks if she searched the area. She nods. When he asks if she found anything, she hides a piece of bread in her jacket, and says there was nothing. He takes her word for it. Suddenly, a loud crash kicks up dust, and a one-eyed monster appears. The man freezes as it comes closer, panicking. He reaches out for help, but the girl runs right past him, mumbling sorry, as his screams are swallowed by the creature. Out on the street, panic explodes. People yell not to look back, while others curse as more monsters show up. A red-haired man even says they'll be fine as long as the monsters catch someone else first. The little girl runs straight at the monster. She dodges every attack without slowing down. Then she twists. rolls over its arms, and lands cleanly. The two men nearby are left stunned. She flips back up at once, and keeps running as the bald man stares after her. That's when he realizes she's faster than anyone there. All around her, people scream and run. She moves through the ruined streets, climbs up higher, and stops to catch her breath. Looking back, she finds Perrin sitting there with his eyes closed. She nudges him and realizes he's alive, just unconscious. Then a creature creeps up behind them, hissing. She presses herself to the wall as it comes closer, growling. The girl grabs Perrin and tries to pull him up, but the monster is already over them. Now it's just the two of them against it. When the dust settles, the little girl tries to catch her breath. Then she turns and sees him lying across her lap. He jerks awake, nervous, and demands to know who she is and what she's doing. She stammers, while Perrin silently promises himself he'll never let his guard down again. She tries to explain that she only covered him so the monsters wouldn't notice him, but his father's warning drowns her out. The kind of people who use others just throw them away after. The protagonist reminds himself not to trust anyone, even as his stomach growls, because he hasn't eaten since he left the bunker. Weak and shaky, he asks if she has food. She says no, but a piece of bread slips from her pocket and gives her away. She tries to play it off, but Perrin calls her out, and thinks about taking it. In the end, she breaks the bread in half and shares it with him. MC hesitates, not sure why she'd do that, and she says he'll owe her back with 5 times as much food. He agrees. After eating, Perrin gets up to leave, but she runs after him and warns that monsters are still nearby. He stops when he realizes she really knows this area. She says she's lived here her whole life, and he studies her, unsure whether to trust her, but she insists she knows the place well. He asks if she can guide him to the subway station. With a sigh, she agrees, though she regrets sharing her bread. Then she asks why he wants to get to the subway so badly. Perrin says it's safe, there should be food, there may be ways out, and being underground makes it harder for monsters to find people. Soon she stops and says they're there. The protagonist isn't convinced, but she tells him this really is the entrance. An older man appears and confirms it. He tells them to follow him, then leads them down hidden stairs into the subway. Inside, it's packed with survivors. The old man talks about the earlier monster attack, which forced everyone down here. He says Perrin finding this place was pure luck, and explains that people only go up top for medicine. These two are the first newcomers in quite a while. MC looks over the crowd, worried that more people could mean more problems, but everyone here seems decent enough, and he finally lets himself relax. The old man introduces himself as Baeum Hwang, a doctor, and says he met them while out looking for medicine. Then he asks their names. The girl steps up first and says she's Haru, a student at Gasung Middle School. Bao recognizes the uniform and says his hospital used to be across the street, but Haru looks confused and says there was never a hospital there. Seeing how rough Perrin looks, Bao asks for his name. He hesitates, thinking about his journal, then says he doesn't have one. Bao simply nods and says he can share it when he's ready. Suddenly, a red-haired kid rushes in and says someone's getting worse. Bao hurries over. He already treated the wound once, but now it's gotten bad enough to need emergency surgery. Fielsen gets his tools ready while Perrin remembers stories about fake doctors who only help for money. He wonders what Baeum really wants, even as others ask whether money matters anymore. Baeum stays calm and says surgery is his job. He doesn't lose patience. Then he starts, assuring everyone it'll be fine. When it's over, the patient hugs Baeum and thanks. Perrin still watches him carefully, not ready to trust him. As Baeum tells the patient to rest, a badge slips out and reveals that Baeum Hwang is actually a veterinarian. He picks up his tools again, and warns that what's next will hurt. When the patient freaks out and begs to be untied, Baeum refuses, saying any movement could kill him. The patient protests that Baeum is a vet, but Baeum says humans are animals too, so the same treatment works. The patient keeps fighting the restraints, and Baeum asks for anesthesia. The red-haired girl says that's impossible to find now, so Baeum grabs a brick and mutters that it'll have to do. He knocks the patient out while Haru and Perrin watch in silence. The protagonist holds the photo from his dad, and the note saying his mom may still be alive. Even though he barely has hope of finding her, the photo grabs his attention. The flowers in the photo are strange. Perrin has never seen them before. After looking closer, MC starts thinking those flowers may only grow in certain areas. If so, the photo might lead him to his mom, and now he needs someone who knows plants. At the same time, a group meets in a bunker, and one of the men reports that everyone is there. The captain then says a new phase is starting. He makes it clear that anyone who resists will be crushed. One man demands to know what he means. The captain answers with a cold stare. He says he can read people, their secrets and fears just by meeting their eyes. Seeing the fear in that man's face, the captain calls him out. The man backs off and begs him to stay away. Instead, the captain decks him and says fear always shows itself near him. He says that's exactly what he wants to see, and tells him to show more. Then he demands the man reveal who he really is. The guy can only beg him to stop. A subordinate cuts in with news. An old man, a girl, a boy, and an injured man are gone. Hearing that, the captain says he'll handle it himself. Before leaving, he orders the angry man tied up and dumped outside. The man's protests don't matter. Worn out from staying alert for days, Perrin falls asleep and dreams of being dragged farther into the dark. He jolts awake to strangers crowding around him, demanding to know who he is. A blonde man gives him 2 minutes to prove himself or get thrown out, mocking him that running won't save him. He rises to his feet. The captain watches and starts rethinking what he first thought about Perrin's curiosity. The blonde man asks how the protagonist expects to fight them. MC throws the question right back at him. That makes the captain smile. He wants to see what's really hiding behind his eyes. The blonde man tells him he should have run when he had the chance. The protagonist calmly says he only needs 2 seconds to put him down. Then the blonde man pulls out a knife, while Perrin realizes his photo is gone. The man taunts him by holding up the picture. He says it was the only thing worth taking. MC warns him that if the photo gets damaged, he'll kill him. The captain grabs the picture and threatens to rip it apart. While Perrin gets beaten and questioned over why one piece of paper matters so much, the captain keeps pushing him. Then he announces he won't be expelled after all. He says the protagonist's eyes hold something else, something darker. So he orders the blonde man to keep watch over him and never lose sight of that photo. The man admits MC creeps him out, but as long as he has the picture, MC can't do much. Haru tries to check on him, but he snaps and shoves her away. She asks why he's taking it out on her when she was only trying to help. He tells her he doesn't need help and to stay away. Hurt, she shouts her name, Haru, and tells him not to forget it. Perrin brushes her off. Biome asks Haru what happened. She says the protagonist is impossible, and Baum agrees. Something about him feels wrong. MC remembers his dad warning him never to trust people who offer help. He keeps watching the man holding his photo and thinks about taking it back, but he won't risk losing the last thing he has from the bunker, so he waits. Later, the captain gathers everyone and gives them 2 choices: follow him or get thrown out. To prove he's serious, he points to the man tied up outside. He says that man made trouble and got expelled, then warns everyone that his word is final. For most of them, obeying him feels like the only way to live. Boehm though says he's too old to bow to that. If he follows the captain, he'll be betraying his own patience and values, so he decides to stay separate. The captain pushes Haru to choose too, but she points out she's not the only one refusing. Perrin, Haru, Boehm and a few others stand together against him. Just then, a red-haired girl wakes up yelling, annoyed that nobody woke her. She curses and says she never wanted to be here in the first place. As fear spreads, she says they're all doomed, that their targets and torture is coming next. Someone calmer brushes that off, not buying that things will go that far. The red-haired girl looks over, unsure if maybe they're right. The calm one only smirks and jokes that maybe they'll just starve or get fed to monsters instead. That drains the color from her face, but loud noises outside cut the moment short. A girl runs out and gets scolded, while a man apologizes to Baum for failing to keep order. Baum kneels and gently tells the girl to listen to her dad. She stomps off, muttering, then yells that he's not her father. She insists her real dad is still out there with her mom, looking for her. The man quickly explains he's not her father at all, just someone she met while fleeing. After she was separated from her parents, he chose to protect her until they could meet again. When another boy steps in, a man lays down the rule: no one leaves the room. It's the captain's order, and anyone who breaks it gets punished. Someone else adds that being a kid won't earn him any mercy. The boy, though, is busy searching for the man who took the photo. Not long after, food is handed out. The guards say each person gets only 1 meal. The red-haired girl complains that their portions are way smaller than everyone else's. The guard repeats that it's the captain's order, and says they don't need much if they're staying inside. Her hands start shaking from anger, and someone nearby senses trouble coming. Simeon points out that he hasn't seen Chicken Comb, and whispers spread. Everyone knows Chicken Comb is the captain's right-hand man, the kind who ignores rules and goes wherever he wants. He's strong enough to scare everyone, and he'll smile while beating someone down. Then Chicken Comb walks in right as the little girl stumbles and spills her food onto his vest. He gives her a nasty smile, says bothering him leads to regret, and tells her to come with him. People whisper that he'd hurt even a child without thinking twice. The girl trembles as he warns her that running around is dangerous, and orders her along, though he's clearly heading toward the others. Someone reacts in surprise, and Chicken Comb turns to a guard with a request: give the girl another meal. The guard hesitates, reminding him of the 1-meal rule. Chicken Comb looms over him and demands the guard's own food instead. Then he gives that meal to the girl. The guard is baffled, wondering if this is some cruel setup, maybe even a punishment. Suddenly the man caring for the girl rushes in, grabs her hand and tells everyone to back off. He demands to know what's going on. Chicken Comb looks honestly confused and asks what exactly he did, but the man calls them all thugs and leaves with the girl. Chicken Comb pauses, then breaks into a grin as they walk off. 2 girls notice that there are more guards around now, while Perrin quietly wonders if he should go after the blonde man himself. The blonde girl says nothing and turns away. Later, the girls sit together in silence. One of them shifts, then notices Perrin sitting alone in the dark. She walks over, but he instantly grabs her wrist, eyes sharp. He accuses her of trying to trick him. She says she only came to talk. He repeats that with suspicion and asks if talking is supposed to mean anything to him. She asks why he even cares. He tells her to just say what she wants, so she asks why he always sits by himself, like maybe he's just shy. Perrin snaps that all humans are his enemies, so getting close to anyone is pointless. She says she never meant to hurt him, but he still doesn't believe her. With a sigh, she tells him to think whatever he wants, but says he should make up with Haru. Perrin says there was never any fight. Haru is just like the rest of them, still human. The girl explains that Haru cries herself to sleep every night and seems weighed down by something. She thinks having a friend her own age could help. The protagonist calls that pathetic. To him, sadness is weakness, and surviving is all that matters. She hesitates, then asks if he's ever lost someone he loved. He says no, and claims that never will happen. He has no one to lose and nothing to be sad over. She says that sounds lonely. Perrin insists he's fine. Then she tells him that if he ever dies, she'll be sad for him. He rolls his eyes and calls that stupid, saying he wouldn't be sad if she died. She just laughs, then coughs. After apologizing for talking so long, she tells him goodnight and walks away. Nearby, the red-haired girl wakes up again, complaining that she can never get any sleep. Perrin is stuck in the underground shelter, and that blonde jerk stole the photo, his best clue to finding his mom. Then gunshots suddenly ring out, and the thief starts messing with him, calling it punishment for trying to escape. Perrin doesn't flinch. He tells him to drop the photo and fight him for real. That finally shakes the blonde man. He realizes MC cares more about that picture than his own life, and rants that maybe he needs another beating. He remembers his dad always saying people are born bad, but he also thinks about the small acts of kindness he's seen. Then the girl from before rushes in. Shocked, Perrin checks the protagonist and insists his wounds need cleaning, but the protagonist doesn't want treatment. He does accept the food she saved for him, though, right when he's about to thank her, she starts coughing hard. Perrin doesn't say she needs medicine, but they've run out. Without it, he warns, she'll only get worse. Even so, she refuses to let anyone put themselves in danger for her. Perrin, now worried, asks what happens if they can't get medicine. Perrin hesitates before answering, but some thugs arrive first. Elsewhere, the man holding the photo complains that the captain wants him to keep waving it around. He wishes he could just kill Perrin and end it. Then Bayom is ordered to help some outsiders immediately. He refuses, saying he already has a critical patient. The thug questions whose side he's really on. Weak as she is, the girl says she'll go up for medicine herself. Bayom stops her, saying she won't survive it, and offers to go with her instead. The thug answers by stabbing her, joking about how easy helping would have been. Everyone is frozen in shock as she collapses, blood spreading across the floor. Perrin feels her life slipping away, and then a strange glow starts coming from the wound. The force blasts him back, and all he can think about is how fragile people are. He watches the light pulse as her life fades. Her hands tremble as she reaches toward him, and with her last strength, she reminds him that he once said he wouldn't care if she died. Then her hand falls still. The thug wipes his knife clean, and Bayom screams at him, calling him a monster for killing her without a second thought. The killer brushes it off, saying he actually did Bayom a favor. In his eyes, losing a doctor for one dying woman makes no sense. Perrin doesn't move. The thug mocks him, asking if he's scared now. MC stays silent, and slowly looks up. The thug lifts his bloody knife. Then he realizes the photo is gone. Perrin sees it on the floor. The thug must have dropped it when he drew the knife. He drops to his knees and stares at the picture. The thug keeps taunting him, asking why it matters so much. He walks toward him. The thug grins, thinking he's finally ready to fight. But Perrin suddenly rushes him and lands a direct hit, catching the soldier off guard. The thug tries to laugh it off, and asks if the protagonist's really going to beat him up. Before he can do anything, another punch lands and the knife flies away. MC charges in and slams him to the ground. The thug tries to rise. Perrin drives him back down. The man groans, barely steady when he grabs his shirt. At the same time, the blade spins through the air. The protagonist catches it at just the right moment. He turns and hurls it. The knife buries itself in the thug's neck, and the whole room goes still. The man trembles in pain while Perrin watches without a word. MC realizes how easily he overwhelmed him. The thug couldn't even react. Annoyed, he curses himself for not taking the photo sooner, and admits this might have ended differently if he had. His heart pounds as dark energy swirls around him. He raises the blade again, ready to strike, when someone warns him that once he kills, there's no going back. Biram steps in, clearly worried. Perrin freezes and repeats those words in his head. Then, angry, he asks why anyone would care about that thug. Biram says he's not worried about the thug, he's worried about him. The protagonist's fist shakes as Biram asks if killing him is really needed. After a long silence, MC lowers his eyes and admits it isn't. He remembers his father saying you only need to cripple someone to make others fear you. Then the thug mocks him, calling him too weak to finish it. He lets out a bitter laugh and says Perrin is scared to kill. He steadies himself and decides he won't turn into someone like them. Even if the world is ending, he wants to live without killing for no reason. So he lets the knife fall and Bayam's face fills with relief. Perrin turns away and says it isn't for Bayam. He just refuses to sink that low. To him, there is no real reason to kill. Thinking of his missing mother, he knows she wouldn't have wanted this alive or dead. He takes a breath and steps back. The thug sees his chance and lunges, thinking the protagonist is open without the knife. Perrin reacts at once, spinning into a fast combo that drops him again. As MC stands over him, another survivor picks up the photo. He snaps, asking what he's doing. The man says it must be important. He awkwardly wipes it clean and hands it back, telling Perrin to protect it. More survivors gather around the covered body. BM realizes Haru and the little girl aren't there. The babysitter says they went to the bathroom, adding that it's probably good they missed all this. One survivor points out that Perrin could have ended the fight but didn't. The protagonist shrugs and says they took something important from him. The man scoffs and calls it a scrap of paper. MC glares back and says it matters. The room goes quiet when he asks a question. Holding up the photo, he asks if anyone knows where the flower in it grows. People look, but none of them recognize it. The red-haired girl asks if he even knows where the picture was taken, and he says that's exactly what he's trying to find out. The babysitter says this would be easier if the internet still worked, but now that photo is their only clue. Being asks why it matters so much. Perrin says plainly that he's going there. People start whispering nervously. Being Gafsurim warns that surviving above ground is impossible with monsters out there, but the protagonist doesn't back down. He's going to survive and find his mom. From the shadows, the captain mutters that ignoring orders will make things worse. Then a beast crashes down, sending rubble everywhere. The story cuts to an empty subway entrance marked Zone B. Someone cheers that they finally have enough heat to cook real food. One man tells another to fan the fire, but the guy shrugs and says he's busy. Then the little girl comes running in. She's annoyed and asks why nobody ever flushes. Haru tells her the toilet stopped working. A man shows up impatient, saying they're taking too long and he has to send them back. Haru notices how nervous he is. Just another person trying to stay alive. By the fire, two men are cooking. One makes a sneaky comment about the earlier fight and slips something into the pot. The other catches it and asks what he added, but gets told to keep stirring. He's not even sure he saw it right. Then the pot suddenly bursts, splashing violently and startling both men. At once rocks fall as the ceiling tears open. A giant tree-like monster crashes through, its huge mouth hanging over them as they freeze. Elsewhere, the captain notices the blonde thug's body on the floor. He mutters that he knew it. People like this are everywhere. Old thoughts hit him again. Some humans are monsters already, and now real monsters are walking among them. Behind him, strange creatures start pouring in. Someone shouts for him to watch out, and warns that the boy is stronger than they expected. The captain ignores it, and gets knocked back. Perrin stands firm, eyes locked in. The captain gets up, calls everyone else weak, and says he doesn't need advice from cowards. He wants MC. He tells him to wipe that look off his face and charges, eager to see what this kid really is. They face each other as the tension climbs. Then darkness starts closing in. Something moves inside it. The captain's eyes widen when he realizes he isn't the one looking into Perrin. He is looking into him, and the darkness twists. Teeth snap shut, and the captain finally understands. He's the one being hunted. Panicking, he drops to the floor, flailing and yelling. His men rush to him and shout his name, but he doesn't respond. Perrin just stands there, eyes glowing, while the room stays dead silent. The captain gulps, realizing he almost got swallowed by that thing. Everyone is shaking. One person whispers that the captain actually looks scared. Then a man suddenly screams, clutching his face and begging for help. Blood runs down as he thrashes and cries that he can't see. People stare in horror as he stumbles around, covered in blood, saying he was only sleeping. His head is pounding, and something feels like it's spreading inside him. Grabbing his head, he staggers down the hall, muttering about the pain, while everyone watches in terror, wondering if he's turning into a monster. He claws at his skull until something bursts out. He screams as black tendrils rip free and twist his body. The survivors cry out when those tendrils lash around and stab people. The captain grabs him and yanks him away, then tears into the creature with brute force. The monster slams back as limbs fly. The captain keeps hammering it, crushing it until it stops moving and only twitches on the floor. Everyone is left stunned. Someone whispers that the captain just killed a monster. He demands to know where it came from. The survivors start cheering and calling him a hero, and one man swears he always believed in him. Perrin only watches in silence. The captain glares back, sweating. Nearby, a woman smiles and says she's alive, right as a heavy metal hatch slams open. It creaks wider, and everyone turns toward the dark passage below. Another twisted creature crawls out of the shadows, dragging itself across the floor. The sight freezes everyone. Then it rises over them, huge and misshapen, with glaring eyes. No one can move from fear. The hatch opens fully, and people gather below. Things had been calm in the bunker for a while, so people had almost forgotten what fear felt like. But when one person quietly steps back, the mood changes. Old memories flood in. Blood, survivors, and things no one wants to remember. They wish they could forget those monsters tearing through soldiers, but those images never left. Now a huge one-eyed beast with jagged teeth climbs up and stomps in and panic explodes. People scream and shove each other down trying to escape. The captain yells over the chaos, telling everyone to fight back. Faces turn toward him, torn between running and staying. He grabs an axe and says this time is different. There's only one monster, so if they work together they can win. Some remember he beat one before, and they start to believe him. There isn't anywhere left to run anyway. The group slowly rallies and asks what they should do. Then blood starts dripping from the captain's nose, and his face goes blank. The crowd shifts uneasily as someone reaches toward him. He stumbles forward. Black tendrils burst from his mouth and chest, twisting his body in front of everyone. A wave of shock hits the crowd. They remember he was supposed to have killed that monster earlier. Then a woman cries out the truth. It regenerated. Terror spreads. These things don't really die. Now overtaken by tendrils, the captain smashes through the walls as destruction bursts around him. Debris rains down, blood sprays, and people are ripped apart. A girl screams as the beast grabs her and crushes others mid-cry. It lifts people into the air and squeezes them until blood bursts out. Bodies stack into a horrific pile, and the hallway turns into a killing ground. One person begs for help, while another says it's over. Sure, more monsters will come any second. Bien grabs the babysitter, who panics because the little girl is still outside. He warns that if monsters got into the station, she's probably already gone. That thought breaks him. He drops to the floor, reaching out in despair, while another survivor turns and walks off. Through all the chaos, Perrin runs down the hall with blazing eyes. Biniam calls after him, as the others hesitate. Some stay frozen, while others run after the protagonist. He keeps pushing forward, and at the door they see Biniam raise a hand to stop him. Perrin steps up, eyes glowing, then lifts his hand and points ahead. The room falls silent. Near the sliding doors, a body lies in a pool of blood. Not far away, 3 kids are hiding together. One of them shakes and whispers that she's scared. Haru puts a finger to her lips and quietly warns them to stay silent, or they'll be found. The youngest sniffles. Haru softly says she's sorry. Right now she can't protect anyone. She explains that the chaos gave them a place to hide, but if anyone finds them it's over. The little girl grabs Haru's sleeve. Haru looks surprised for a second, then meets Perrin's eyes, lets the girl hold on, and gently tells her to stay close. Nearby, an injured man stares at the dead body. Terrified, he asks what they're supposed to do. Haru tells him they need to run. The man panics, saying there's no way out. Haru shakily answers that right now, all that matters is staying alive. Then she steels herself, and says they can't just wait to die. She's going to survive. Hearing that, the man quietly says she must have a really strong reason to keep going. Before anyone can say more, a red-eyed monster appears in the doorway. The man freaks out and yells for everyone to run. The blonde girl grabs on tight as the creature comes closer. Then the man charges straight at it and locks it in place. He tells the others to go. He says his life is already over, but he still wants them to make it. Haru grabs the little girl and runs as his voice follows behind them, begging them not to forget what he's doing. Suddenly fire bursts out, and more survivors rush in, stabbing and beating back another monster. The blonde freezes as a woman keeps driving her knife into it, but the creature starts healing. Someone screams that it's regenerating. The woman backs off, swearing they can't beat it. Then Perrin steps up. The others panic and ask what he's doing, warning him that fighting these things only gets people killed. MC ignores them and charges. The woman realizes he's serious and thinks he's insane. If even the captain couldn't win, how can he? The monster shrieks and jumps at him. Perrin drops low, grabs it, and something cracks. He flips through the motion, jumps up, and lands in a crouch. Everyone can only stare as he rips through the monster's tendrils with his bare hands. The beast flails, but Perrin stays steady and tears it apart piece by piece while Biome and the woman watch. She mutters that it means nothing. The captain killed one before too. Then more monsters crawl out. Even so, he doesn't flinch and meets their gaze. The second they rush him, he dashes in and smashes a huge one right in the mouth. Another leaps at him, but Perrin springs up, catches it, and rips it apart. Its tendrils snap and fly everywhere under his attacks. Biome and the woman think he's done for, but Perrin comes out untouched, surrounded by twisting limbs. Biome can only whisper that the kid's still alive, and the woman is left speechless. Even as the monsters keep healing over and over, everyone watches the protagonist stand his ground. He takes a breath and remembers his father's words. Every living thing has a source of life. A glowing flower flashes through his mind, and his father's voice comes back again. Find the source, then destroy it. Perrin cuts through the horde, searching. He lunges at one and tears it open, and finally sees it, a glowing seed buried inside, the real source. He braces himself and drives his weapon into it. Energy bursts out, and the tendrils lash wildly. The monster convulses as Perrin pushes deeper. Breathing hard, he stands over the remains. At his feet, the broken seed still gives off a faint glow. The survivors stare down the hall in shock. One of them whispers that the monster is really dead. Bam watches a blood-covered figure walk past the wreckage. Elsewhere, Haru pulls another girl down the hall, when a huge boom shakes the bunker. She yells that something's coming. Their footsteps pound as they run around the corner, and Haru suddenly finds herself face to face with a massive creature charging right at her. She tries to jump away, but slips and slams onto the floor. The monster fixes its glowing eye on her. She looks back as those heavy footsteps get closer and closer. Then a swirling void suddenly opens in front of her, dragging her sight into darkness. Shadows churn and a strike cuts past. Behind her, Biome gasps, barely able to speak. A moment later, Haru stumbles back to the group without a scratch. Relief fills the room, but she just stands there trembling, mumbling in shock. Then someone suddenly asks where the little girl is. Haru blurts out too much in a panic, and accidentally reveals Paran's location. The group breaks down crying, and the babysitter begs to know if the child is okay. Then a pair of tiny shoes appears in the doorway. Everyone goes still. The little girl steps in, her dress torn and bloody, and behind her stands a hideous red-eyed monster. Panic tears through the room. Someone charges forward screaming, while the girl shakes beneath the monster's shadow. Just before it can attack, Chicken suddenly appears. He shoves Paran aside, faces the beast, and warns it to back off or he'll gouge out its eye. The creature stops, then slowly backs away, as Chicken orders it to stay there. He isn't sure why it listened, so he keeps listening for any movement. Biome says they're only alive because of what's happening outside. Out there, Paran slams another monster into the ground and mutters that that's two, but more are already closing in. One lunges with a heavy swing, and he braces for it. 3 more start circling him. MC thinks that if there were fewer, he could wipe them out and secure the area. But with this many, all he can do is survive. One mistake will kill him, and even worse, more could show up any second. Worn out, he thinks about running for another shelter, but if he leaves, everyone inside dies. He wonders why he should even care. Then he remembers the stabbed girl, and what she said before dying. That moment of distraction costs him. A monster slices across his body, and he collapses as blood sprays out. Holding the wound, he lifts his eyes and sees a shadow standing over him. It's Chicken. Chicken says the others filled him in, and now he knows Paran can kill these things. So he asks one simple question: how can he help? The babysitter grabs his shield, ready to join in, while the little girl watches quietly. Under his breath, Paran says he still doesn't get why these people want to help him. Chicken shrugs like the answer is obvious. They all want to live. The babysitter adds that if he falls, the rest of them are dead too, so helping him is their only chance. Chicken holds out his hand. The protagonist pauses, then accepts, and tells them to distract the monsters. He figures no one's likely to betray him when survival is the only thing tying them together. Then a monster charges, and Chicken and the babysitter step in to stop it. That gives Paran a tiny opening, even with his injuries. Chicken taunts the beast, giving MC exactly the distraction he needs. He rushes in, hits his target, and cracks open the monster's glowing core. It pulses with violent energy. The creature fires beams of light, forcing him to dodge and weave, but he refuses to back off. Pushing through the attack, he grabs the monster and turns it until the core is fully exposed, shouting that he's found the weak spot. He lunges to finish it, but misses just as the monster starts charging a huge blast. The beam fires, and the babysitter throws up his shield, barely holding it. That split second is enough. Paran refocuses, drives his strike into the core and shatters it. The monster drops. Biome says he'd only get in the way, and the red-haired girl agrees, especially with bodies still twitching nearby. Someone shouts at a monster that the captain is dead. The babysitter looks back to check Paran, but the protagonist just points at the broken core by his feet. Chicken asks how it works, and MC explains that every monster has a weak spot. You just have to find it. Another survivor points out that only he can actually see those spots, so everyone else should focus on creating openings. Chicken refuses to stay out of it, and jumps right back into the fight, while Paran admits things are a lot easier with help. Chicken gets slammed hard as the protagonist cuts down another creature. Then he suddenly stops. There's one more presence. Across the room, a survivor is trapped, pinned to the ground by tendrils. At that moment, Haru and the others arrive and see her struggling. The monster crackles and twists, changing into something even worse. A bloody hand twitches on the floor, then goes still as the change finishes. Nearby, a corpse jerks, and a mangled shadow crawls free, looming over Haru and another survivor. Haru forces herself to move as its jaws snap just inches from her face. The creature lunges again, but Paran cuts it down at the last second. Haru stares at him in shock as he lands hard, bleeding and exhausted, but still clutching the monster's glowing core, his eyes fixed on its light. Biome rushes over, saying MC needs treatment now, and the others hurry to help. Later, MC wakes up bandaged. Haru is sitting nearby, and Biome lets out a relieved breath. Paran immediately rips the bandages off. His wounds are completely healed. Biome grabs his arm, stunned. He asks if the other fighter survived, and a familiar voice answers that he's fine. Chicken grins and brags that he's too tough to die. He says he helped because he felt like it, even when someone mutters that he looks like the bad guys. Chicken just laughs and says he doesn't take orders from anyone. Haru yawns as someone else comments on how shady he looks, but Chicken only smirks and says that's just his style. Perrin turns to Haru and asks why she's still here when she isn't hurt. She snaps back, asking what he's going to do about it. Then she admits she was worried. Biome cuts in to remind the protagonist that Haru stayed and helped treat him. She immediately yells that she only did it because Biome asked. Then Chicken says he remembers her from earlier, and to her surprise, praises how fast she was in the fight. He says she dodged the monsters like it was easy, moving like the wind. Haru tenses up, clearly bothered, and turns away as he steps closer. Perrin quietly watches her leave, remembering the dying woman's words that he should at least try to get along with her. So MC calls out to Haru. He asks if that's all. Without turning around, she softly says yes. Later, during a meeting, a man with glasses speaks to the group. Only 12 of the 43 survivors are left. Then he corrects himself. About 78% are gone. He says many of the bodies were found gray and dried up like mummies. A woman says the monsters must have drained them, then wonders if this could be some kind of government experiment. She brings up rumors, while others insist the creatures fell from the sky. Someone even says aliens, but another person cuts that off and reminds them they have bigger problems. Then everyone turns to Perrin and demands answers. How does he fight like that? And how did he know how to kill the monsters? With Haru watching, he simply says he's been trained for the apocalypse since the day he was born. He holds up a photo and says it's the only thing he brought from the bunker. The woman still doesn't buy it. She says he could be lying and wants more proof than a story about living underground and knowing the end was coming. To her, one photo proves nothing. Still, she admits Perrin can fight, and the others start believing in his strength at least. Then a survivor suddenly lunges at him, but the protagonist dodges with ease. The attacker instantly panics, apologizes, and hurriedly says he believes the bunker story now. Biome steps in and says he's convinced too, especially after treating all of MC's scars. Thinking about everything the boy has been through, Biome says no one his age should have survived that much. That makes Haru ask about his scars. Perrin says he got them from trying to break out of the bunker. To him, they're proof he never quit, not painful memories. Then someone asks why he never warned anyone the apocalypse was coming. He remembers what his father used to say, and admits he doesn't think the man ever meant to warn people. He says he still doesn't really trust people, but this group helped him. Because of that, he's starting to wonder if everyone is really as awful as his father said. One survivor tells him that makes him important. He's the only one who knows how to kill the monsters. Chicken says finding his mom could help them learn more about the creatures. Another person warns they've only lasted this long because of luck and the blocked entrance. That cave-in is the only thing protecting them. If the monsters get through, they're done for. Right now, the only way outside is a narrow gap in the rubble. Even so, they go check the storage room and find it crushed under debris. That sparks panic, since all their food was in there. A cold voice cuts through the noise. It isn't a food storage anymore. Biome says they need a team to look for supplies and asks who'll go. Chicken raises his hand right away, saying he needs some air. Someone reminds him he's still hurt, but he says he can manage. Biome shuts that down and tells him to recover first. Others say going to the surface is basically suicide. Even the cloaked survivor agrees. Biome looks worried. They only have enough food for one more week. Perrin calmly steps up and says he'll go. Biome thanks him, but the protagonist says he already planned to. He wants to look for survivors, someone who knows the photo, or maybe a safer shelter. 2 more people volunteer, including a girl around his age. She says Perrin risked his life for everyone, while she would have just run. When they call for Haru, she doesn't answer. She's clearly shaken. MC notices and asks her what's wrong. The mood turns awkward, and people start asking if he's really going outside with no shirt on. A woman gives him one she made while he was asleep. He asks about it. She says she used to be a designer, back when the world was normal. People lined up for her clothes. That reminds Perrin of something he read about different kinds of clothes. He used to ask his father why he always had to wear the same outfit. He wanted to try something new. His father would just laugh and say he wore the same thing too. The protagonist admits he always dreamed of wearing new clothes above ground, so he thanks her from the heart. Then Haru finally speaks. As he pulls on his pants, she says she wants to ask him something. He looks up and asks what it is. Haru just stands there, frozen in front of Perrin, while the others whisper, shocked by what they're seeing. Red-faced, she suddenly snaps, calls him a pervert, and swings at him. MC dodges, confused, and tries to ask what's going on, but Haru loses her footing and slams to the floor. She stays down and refuses to move. Still not getting it, Perrin walks closer, until someone mutters about a scar, and Haru lowers her head. He tells her to get up. Haru fires back that he needs to put something on first. With a sigh, he gets dressed, then wonders how the monsters showed up in the first place. The others guess the fire brought them in after they smelled cooked food. The red-haired girl excitedly grabs a lighter. Perrin quickly warns her that fire attracts monsters. She freezes, and panic spreads as everyone understands. Haru stares at the lighter until the girl nervously gives it to her, and Haru backs away with it clenched in her hand. A boy suddenly recognizes Haru as the track star from Gasong Middle School. He says he noticed her scar right away and thinks it looks cool. Haru doesn't see it that way. To her, that scar only proves how scared and weak she was, and her mind drifts back to classmates and all the times she felt small. In her memory, it's Haru's first day of middle school, and she's clutching her bag in fear. Her parents wish her luck and tell her to work hard. Her brother cheers her on. New classmates whisper about her, while her parents watch nervously. Her father quietly wonders if she'll be okay. He remembers how bright and cheerful she used to be. Her mother says Haru has been anxious ever since that day, and struggles with it constantly. Then the memory sharpens. Young Haru is grabbed by a man who lifts a knife, while her parents scream. She bites him, breaks free, then collapses. Shaking, she looks up just as blood sprays and the blade cuts her. Her father rushes in, her mother screams, and Haru's vision fades. She wakes up in a hospital bed, screaming, with her parents holding on to her. They tell her she's safe now, and that the attacker was caught. But even in their arms, she can't stop shaking. She keeps staring at the bandages over her scar, still terrified. Later at school, Haru sits quietly while other kids talk about scary things. She looks out the window and sees the man's shadow in her mind. A girl asks what scares her the most. Someone else repeats the question. Haru freezes, unable to answer. Later, she finally admits she's afraid of dying. The room goes silent until the girl explains she only meant horror movies. At track practice, the coach calls Haru over. Since the attack, she always feels chased, like someone is right behind her. When the signal sounds, she runs, driven by fear and memory. She almost falls, but keeps going. To Haru, she's still a coward, but then the coach shouts that she broke another record. Her teammates cheer. The coach praises her, amazed she's setting records after only 2 years, and saying she could be a star. Soon reporters come to meet the scarred runner. Nervous, Haru greets them. They ask for pictures and try to encourage her. One man says he's a fan and touches her shoulder. Haru flinches. He pulls back and scoffs, saying he's not trying to hurt her, she's just weird. The coach tries to step in, but the man brushes it off and calls her overly nervous. Haru stays silent. That night at dinner, her father is looking at his phone, and her mother scolds him for it. He laughs, apologizes, and asks what happened with the reporter. Her brother gushes about how fast she is. Her father says he can't wait to see her on TV. He also says her talent really took off after the attack. Haru realizes every time she runs, the memories come back. That's the cruel part. She started running so she wouldn't be a coward anymore. But inside, nothing changed. She grabs her uniform and starts to leave. Her father tells her being afraid doesn't mean there's something wrong with her. Haru argues that fear makes her weak and not good enough. He hugs her and says she doesn't need to hide. That scar proves she was brave, and her family loves her no matter what. Haru cries, thinking about how much that word coward hurt her, and how hard she tried to change without seeing what mattered most. She remembers her family holding her close as her father tells her she isn't broken, and it's okay to be scared. He holds out his pinky and asks her to promise not to cry, just because she's afraid. Haru agrees, trying to be strong. Then, just as they're about to leave together, everything falls apart. Something smashes into the building, and debris comes crashing down. Her father stares in shock, and the family runs into the ruined city. A huge stone giant appears just as her dad drops, struggling to get back up. He meets Haru's eyes when she calls for him. As she runs toward him, he stumbles and warns her to stay back. Haru sees he's hurt and freezes, tears filling her eyes. He tells her she can still get away if she wants. He'll protect mom and Soil, but Haru refuses. Through sobs, she says she could never leave him. He means everything to her. She swears she won't run, because if she does, she'll never forgive herself, and breaks down crying. All she can do is stare at her father's back as he shields her from the monsters. Then light bursts around him, and everything goes white. Now Haru is running through darkness. She pushes forward harder, thinking of his kindness, and admitting she's spent her whole life running. Clenching her fists, she vows to stop. Back in the present, Haru faces Perrin and says she's going too, and this time, she won't run away. Monsters roam the rooftops as the survivors move carefully into the city. They slip past one nearby beast. It roars, but the group hides and gets away. One survivor sighs in relief, another makes a shaky joke, and Perrin tells them they're safe for now. Haru hears someone ask about a map. He lifts a sheet of paper and says they need to make one. When Haru repeats that, he turns serious. A map matters just as much as food. Haru says she can help since she knows the area, but then hesitates, because the city barely looks the same anymore. They gather what they can, but it's much less than they hoped. Perrin points out most of the food has already gone bad. A survivor with glasses says they should eat the stuff that spoils first. Haru says maybe they should wait until they get back, but the others argue it'll rot soon anyway, and they risked a lot to get it. They should eat now. Someone else says people at the base are still waiting for them. Perrin tries some first and says it tastes good. He says bunker food was just plain nutrition paste, so this tastes amazing. Haru teases him for not even knowing what bread was before, and he glares at her. Then he offers her some food, reminding her about their earlier deal, and saying they're even now. The protagonist warns everyone to stay hidden, unless they have to fight. He can kill a monster, but noise will bring more. Staying quiet is how they live. Suddenly he stops as a creature drops down between the buildings. His voice turns sharp. They cannot let it notice them. Perrin repeats the warning. Don't let the monsters catch on. Haru and the others go still. He says if they're found, the only move is to split up and run. Putting a hand on Haru's shoulder, MC quietly tells her the creature still hasn't seen them. Someone starts to whisper a question, but before any answer comes, Perrin throws a can, and the clang rings out. The monster snaps toward the sound at once, proving noise draws them. He settles the group, motions for silence, and explains that a messy fight would only call in more monsters, so they have to kill it in one hit. His thoughts flash back to the basement, where someone once handed him a weapon and said he wouldn't go outside himself, but he still wanted to help. It was made for Perrin's fighting style, built to pierce the monster's weak spots. He grabs it now and rushes in, driving the blade straight into the creature's core. As he looks at the weapon, his father's voice comes back. Don't depend on weapons. If you want to survive up here, learn to fight with your bare hands. His father always said tools had no place in real battle, and promised he'd understand one day. Perrin can't accept that. How is anyone supposed to fight monsters like these bare-handed? Then it hits him. His father never talked about monsters in the bunker at all. Maybe he thought the protagonist wouldn't believe him. Truthfully, he didn't believe in the apocalypse until now. More memories surface, countless drills in the bunker, all of it training for monster attacks. If his father never meant for him to leave, why train him so hard? Maybe he wasn't trying to trap him forever. One thing keeps bothering him. His dad never lied, except about his mom. So was all that training meant for this day? His mind goes back to the beginning, the first day of the apocalypse. He remembers the locks being opened and his dad unlocking every door. If he hadn't gotten out then, the monsters would have killed him. Now he can't stop wondering why the monsters came for their bunker, and how his dad saw it coming. Nearby, the survivor with glasses checks the monster. Even after its core was hit, it curls into a ball. He mutters that they still couldn't break it. Then he tosses it to a girl, and she throws it away. Perrin follows it with his eyes as it lands near him. He picks it up and sees weird patterns moving across it. The sphere vibrates in his hand. The guy with glass asks what's going on, but MC says nothing. Instead, he tightens his grip, and cracks spread across it. Pieces start breaking off. He glances over and sees Haru is awake. She remembers running off by herself, and quietly swears she won't do that again. Next chance she gets, she'll apologize to him. Perrin thinks back to his father before everything went bad, when he gave him a book from home and called it a hero's story. He opens his eyes again and Haru is leaning over him. She falls on top of him and covers his mouth. He tries to talk, but she won't let him. Looking up at her, Perrin complains that she's heavy and tells her to get off. Haru instantly snaps that she is not. He tells her to relax and mutters that she's such a scaredy cat. She raises the binoculars and checks the city, spotting monsters in the distance. Perrin walks over, asks how it's going, and casually calls her human. That really gets on her nerves. Later, someone asks what his name is. The protagonist admits he hasn't had one since he was a kid, and Ji-yoon says he needs one. Gu wants to choose one right away, but Perrin just stands there, unsure what to say. Even the idea of having a name feels strange. Then Haru offers one. He turns it down and thinks about his father. Lowering his head, he quietly says, Perrin. The others are surprised. Haru repeats it, and he nods. She asks what it means, and he says it came from a book he read as a child. Guem suggests they all introduce themselves. Gu-yoon starts, then Gu, then Haru, joking that Perrin probably won't remember anyway. He hesitates, says the name once, then more firmly introduces himself as MC. The group repeats his name, and he says it again as memories rush back. He sees the bunker and remembers dreaming about this reaching the surface, meeting people, and telling them his name. He'd always wanted to know other people's names too. Right then, Haru, Jaehyun, and Guming smile at him. Jaehyun reaches out and asks if they can be friends. Perrin pulls away. Blood, screams, and the end of the world flash through his mind. He backs off and coldly says they aren't friends. Gumi and Haru are stunned. Perrin thinks that if the world hadn't fallen apart, maybe he could have been their friend. But now all he cares about is finding his mother. He turns to go when a scream suddenly rings out. He and Ji-yoon spot a man below, caught by a monster. Perrin gets ready to move, but Gree insists they save him. Haru and Ji-yoon trade a look while the protagonist refuses. He warns that noise will bring more monsters. Gree argues they can rescue him, and still get away. Perrin reminds her of the deal they were supposed to follow his orders above ground. He warns her again, but when the man screams one more time, Gree ignores him, grabs a weapon and drives it into the monster. She stabs it again, and knocks it off him. The man thanks her, and Garn tells him to stay with them if he wants to survive. Still shaking, he warns them as another monster shows up. Perrin jumps in and kills it fast. Then he turns to Go, eyes cold, and asks if she understands what she just risked. Her recklessness could have gotten them all killed. Haru and Ji-yoon stay tense. They know this will only get worse. The injured man asks if he can still walk, then admits his leg is too messed up. He needs help. Perrin expected something like this. Then nearby monster sounds make everyone freeze. More of them are coming. MC refuses to help any further. Jae-hyun reminds them that saving the man at all was already too dangerous. He tells Guru she can stay and help if she wants, but then she's leaving the group. If she chooses him, she's out. Jae-hyun agrees. The rule is simple, everyone follows every order, no exceptions. The man begs, but Jae-hyun sides with Perrin. They can't do this. She thinks about the people still waiting back at base, and Guru finally decides to stay with the group. The injured man screams after them, calling them murderers, and saying they're leaving him to die. The protagonist snaps at him to shut up, but his voice keeps echoing. The monsters answer with shrieks. The group runs, but they're getting surrounded. Haru cries out that the way out is blocked. Perrin quickly judges the situation. It's bad, but not over yet. The monsters haven't noticed them, so if they move now and backtrack, they can still slip away. Then the injured man flicks on a lighter. Everyone freezes. He points at a no smoking sign, but Ji-yoon snaps that that's not the issue. Fire will attract even more monsters. The man shrugs and says he knows. Fire already took his home. Jae-yoon presses him, but the flame keeps burning as smoke rises. The monsters creep closer. The man mutters that it's his time, and he just wants one last cigarette. Then creatures drop in with shrieks. Parons yells for everyone to run, and charges forward, shouting again for them to move. The man doesn't follow. MC sprints ahead with Ji-yoon right behind him. Haru looks back and sees a monster leap for the man, and she cries out in horror. Paron slides in, blade flashing, and cuts the creature before it can hit him. He sets himself, weapon ready, as the beast closes in. Behind him, the others freeze. He snarls at them, reminding them he told them to run. Ji-yoon protests. The protagonist said he'd escape too, so why is he still here? Perrin wonders the same thing, but tightens his grip on the weapon. Ji-yoon warns that if MC stays, the monsters could chase them and kill everyone. Glungle lashes out and stabs another monster. Haru watches as Ji-yoon and Gu struggle, while more creatures close in. Perrin roars at them again to get out. Ji-yoon argues they can still win. There are fewer enemies now, and together they might make it back. Then everything changes. A huge red monster appears. Its burning cores glowing as its twisted body writhes. He braces himself as the air seems to shake around it. Ji-yoon freezes when the other monsters bow to it. Perrin shouts for him to run, but Ji-yoon can't move. In one motion the monster grabs him and tears out his heart. His body drops, blood spreading beneath him. Haru falls to her knees, screaming his name. Gu panics and cries out while Perrin forces himself forward, gripping his weapon. He attacks the giant monster, but his weapon breaks on impact. With one savage swipe, the monster sends him flying, cracking his ribs, barely breathing. Perrin pushes himself up and sees the creature crush Ji-yoon's heart before tossing the body aside. As it swells into something even worse, it starts moving toward them. The protagonist yells at Haru to run, telling everyone to move. She refuses. If she runs now, she'll just lose someone else she loves. She's done backing away. The monster grabs Guren. Haru holds her weapon tight, shaking but determined, blames herself for everything, and begs the others to escape. Sure, she only made things worse. Then she rushes forward to draw the monsters away, shouting for them to survive, but they swarm her and tear her apart. Perrin stares in horror, as the huge glowing monster keeps slaughtering survivors, while he and Haru stand their ground. He begs her to run, but Haru demands to know how he can say that. What about him? Perrin keeps moving forward. She asks why he's trying to throw his life away, reminding him that he was the one who said they'd escape together. He quietly admits that running would be the smart choice. When she pushes him more, he softly thanks her. As he walks on, his mind drifts to sharing food, learning names, and finally seeing the surface. It was everything he'd dreamed of. He says that when someone dies, that's it. No more talking, no more calling their name. He begs Haru to run, because he can't watch any more friends die. Haru shakes her head, whispering again and again that this can't be happening. As monsters close in, Perrin sharply tells her to leave. She shouts back asking why, but he only says she has to run. Haru cries that he sounds just like her father, the same words he said back then. Tears fall as she remembers her promise. Never run, never leave people behind again. She screams that she won't save herself by sacrificing everyone else. Her father's face flashes through her mind, his voice gentle. It's okay to be scared. Guilt twists inside. Perrin asks if she really won't run to save herself. Then he smirks and says he should have known. She's just too kind. Haru realizes she was wrong. She admits her mistakes and accepts that her dad really did love her. In her memory, he holds out his hand and asks her to promise she won't cry, even if she feels weak. She shouts that she promises, their pinkies locking. Left there alone, Perrin turns her words over in his mind. Death ends everything, and he can't lose anyone else. Then Haru runs back, yelling that he's an idiot. Nobody said she was going to die. She says she's going to live, and if they survive, nothing has to end. MC just stares as she finds petrol, then pauses to speak. She says that if they make it through this, they'll still talk, say each other's names, and stay together. They can still be friends. Then she flicks a lighter. Perrin shouts her name and asks what she's doing, but Haru holds the flame steady. She tells him not to give up. They have to survive. Then she drops the lighter. The petrol erupts in flames. She thinks about how she always used to run just to save herself. Now she's running to protect the people she loves. She swears she'll protect them all, and calls to Perrin that she'll see him back at base. The monsters rush after her, but Haru tears through the streets, running even faster, dodging attacks and vaulting past obstacles while claws slash just behind her. Even when a huge mutant lunges at her, she keeps running. Perrin steadies himself and faces the monsters head on. As they circle in, one stomps closer and growls, asking where he thinks he's going. He calmly tells it that it should be worried about him. He studies the monster, locking onto its weak point by sensing its life force. Then he reaches for his weapon, but the creature moves first, striking faster than he expected, and knocking the blade away before sending him skidding back. Right away, he knows he can't hit the weak spot without it. Then his father's voice echoes in his head, reminding him that weapons aren't always needed. Perrin remembers his father saying he'd understand someday. Whenever the protagonist asked what he meant, his dad would only say weapons weren't made for people like them. He remembers watching his father fight without ever depending on a blade. Now Perrin copies his father's stance. The lesson continues in his mind. The stance is just the start. Every living thing carries life force, even monsters. He thinks back to those basement lessons, where his father taught him that the hands guide that power, and with enough focus he can draw it out through his fingertips. Blue sparks suddenly burst across his body. His father's words push him to take hold of that power. Perrin complains that nothing's happening, but the voice tells him he'll get there once he truly feels that life force he can control it. Then a surge finally rises inside him. His father's words return. That power is his. Energy races up his arm, and MC yells in shock. He remembers asking his dad what would happen if he pulled out all of it, just as the monster closes in. The answer comes back to him. Once he masters it, he'll move almost as fast as his father did. With that new strength, Perrin launches forward. He rushes the monster and slams straight into it. It swings at him, but he blasts through its defense and sends it sliding away. The beast grabs its face, and Perrin answers every move without hesitation. Electricity pulses through him, and he realizes he can finally keep up. When the monster lunges again, the protagonist braces himself. They leap and crash together mid-air. He catches one tendril, yanks hard, and slams the creature down. It strikes back, but he slips past it, jumps in. Perrin pauses to check the monster starts changing. Its arms split apart, and its body mutates. He realizes it's shielding its weak point, so he'll have to hit even harder. Sparks burst from his fist as he digs deeper, driven by memories of the friends he's lost. Lightning floods through his whole body. He lifts his head and dares the monster to come. The creature screams and charges, hammering at him with its arms and tendrils. Perrin walks right into it without flinching, even as it towers over him. A painful thought hits him. If he'd been this strong earlier, maybe his friends would still be alive. He pours everything into one massive punch, blasting out light and force. Then he drops from exhaustion. Somehow Perrin forces himself back up, just as the monster attacks again. That's when he spots part of the glowing core still inside it, right as the beast grabs one of the injured survivors. Omsi shouts at it to stop, and struggles to tear away the tendril, while it looms over the helpless group. The creature clamps a hand around his throat, and when he sees a friend's dead body nearby, his mind goes blank. Only one thought remains: he has to kill this monster. His eyes turn red as he grabs its limb. Getting ready for the next move, Perrin tightens his hold. He yanks hard and locks the limb in place. The monster thrashes and snarls, its jaws splitting open with far too many teeth, but the protagonist only grips harder. Its body whips back and forth. The beast stumbles, and he keeps pulling until the limb tears apart in his hands. MC steadies himself as red energy swirls around him, his eyes glowing while his aura bursts outward, drowning out the monster's scream. Without stopping, he charges again, moving in a blur as the creature shrieks. At the same time, the survivors move carefully through the area with a map, checking around them. One says they must be close, while another complains about how long it's taking. The one with glasses suddenly spots movement and panics, and they hurry over to find Perrin collapsed on the ground. Relieved that he's still alive, they lift him up. Chicken asks what happened, while someone else stares at the destruction around them as they carry him back. Along the way, Chicken starts barking orders at the girl in back, telling her to ditch some of the bags. She refuses, saying she wants half the food, and already talking about the meal they'll have later. He offers to help, then tosses away her heavy bag, making her shriek. Chicken sprints ahead and tells everyone to catch up. Someone yells that they'll shave off his mohawk, while the guy with glasses tells them to shut up unless they want trouble. Perrin slowly starts waking up, confused when he notices a map in his hand. He looks it over, wondering if Haru is still alive. The one with glasses asks what happened, but the protagonist only remembers grabbing the monster at the end. After that, everything goes blank. He has no idea how he made it out alive. Then the ground shakes, and another monster appears with a roar. Chicken charges first, ready to fight, and Perrin steps in too. The guy with glasses panics because they don't have a weapon, but MC's hand is already crackling with energy. The beast lunges, Perrin dodges, and smashes it so hard the ground trembles. The survivors can only stare as he grabs the monster's limb with lightning running through him and crushes the glowing core to pieces. When the dust clears, Chicken grabs Perrin and starts firing off questions. Back at the shelter, a few older men work the radios, frustrated that no one's answering. Captain tells them to wait a little longer and hope the government sends something. They're especially worried because the supply team still hasn't come back. Harpu sits there awake, quietly waiting for Perrin. Then Captain notices movement outside, and whispers spread as the supply group finally returns. Haru's eyes go wide when she sees him being carried in. Someone tells her he's alive, just as the protagonist stumbles back to his feet, and she runs over and hugs him, overwhelmed with relief. Haru says she ran away, but he still made it back, and then she breaks down crying while everyone watches. The team brought back enough food for 7 days plus some medicine, but it came at a price. They lost 2 people. Later, when Perrin wakes up, Haru is there to greet him. He says he had a dream that someone hugged him, but Haru quickly brushes it off and says it was just a dream. Then he notices the injuries on her legs, and Haru jokes that he looks even worse. Perrin says he heals fast. She calls him a monster, then quickly says sorry. Haru says they're total opposites. She's always been the one who runs, while he's always the one who fights. She admits she used to hide how scared she really was, but now she's owning it. She's a coward, yet she's choosing to fight and change. Then, a little girl walks in. Haru is shocked. She apologizes for leaving her and says she wishes she'd spoken up sooner. The girl holds out a hairpin, and Haru is surprised to realize it's hers. The child says it's a gift because Haru's bangs keep getting in her eyes. Haru hesitates, but the girl assures her she has another one. Touching her scar, Haru sees it as proof that she kept fighting, while Perrin watches quietly. She puts the pin in and asks if she looks pretty. The little girl says yes. Even after all the loss, hope still hasn't died. MC sits in silence, holding a small trinket. Then a buzzing sound pulls everyone's attention to the radio. Perrin turns as a voice crackles through, testing the mic. The group realizes the radio finally works. The speaker says they saw the apocalypse coming and got ready for it. Now it's up to everyone listening whether they believe him. He listens closely, tense, as the message ends and leaves the next choice in their hands. First comes on the radio and introduces himself in a calm, firm voice. He says surviving this long without any prep is impressive. Then he lays out the plan. If people want to beat the monsters, they need to unite, and that starts with sharing where they are. He tells them not to use fire, only flashlight signals. At midnight, everyone should flash their lights for 10 seconds. When the time comes, beams cut through the darkness. Flashlights begin shining all across the city. Haru spots the distant signals and realizes they aren't alone. The group starts wondering if First really knew this was coming. They point out that a broadcast like this would need serious military-level equipment. Perrin can't stop thinking about it. The only person who ever saw a disaster like this coming was his dad. Then another thought hits him. Could First know something about his mom too? He remembers the message about the brightest light marking the place, and quietly wishes everyone luck. As Perrin gets ready to leave, Chicken rushes over and asks to come with him. The protagonist tries to turn him down, and warns him how dangerous it is, but Chicken won't back off. He says he's not as weak as he looks. He reminds MC that the people who died chose to be there too, so he needs to stop blaming himself. Everyone knew the risk. Then he says they're teammates now, and demands to be called Big Bro. Perrin gives in and doesn't stop him. When he jokes and calls him Chicken, the wannabe tough guy protests that it's a mohawk, not a chicken comb, and tells him to drop the nickname. They keep bickering until Haru cuts in and says she's coming too. Perrin accepts it without much argument. Elsewhere, someone on watch notices the protagonist left without taking a weapon. The guy with glasses thinks about how strong MC really is. He's taken down grown men and beaten monsters everyone thought were impossible to kill. Watching how he moves, almost beyond human, the observer wonders who Perrin really is. Later, Chicken asks if copying his training will make him stronger too. The protagonist thinks for a moment, then says the first step is learning to feel life force. Chicken doesn't get it, and asks what that even means, so Perrin compares it to the body's natural energy. He admits he didn't believe it either, until he felt it himself. Suddenly, MC freezes and stops the group. Haru tenses up and asks if it's a monster, if they should run. He says no. A woman stumbles into view, and he realizes the presence he felt was human, not a monster. She begs them for help, saying her family is trapped under rubble after running from monsters. She promises she'll do anything if they save them. Chicken asks again if she really means anything, and she nods. Haru says they have to help her, but Perrin asks if there's really no one else. The woman says no, that's exactly why she came to them. The protagonist senses more people nearby, and she admits she meant to trick them back to her hideout and jump them, but says it doesn't matter. There are plenty more people around. Chicken complains that ruins his chance to get more out of her. He was hoping for at least 10 favors. Then the woman tells them to hand over everything they own, even their clothes. Haru flat out refuses, but the woman cuts her off and threatens her. Give it all up, or else. Her thugs move in and start demanding their stuff too. Chicken suddenly starts taking his clothes off, dropping his jacket and handing it over. One thug crouches to pick it up, making fun of him for folding so fast. In the next second, Chicken decks him and drops him cold. He throws his vest back on and asks MC what he thinks. MC already knows this is turning into a fight. Seeing that, the woman tells her crew to kill them fast. One thug rushes in with a knife, but he grabs the blade mid-swing and twists it back into him, putting him down right away. Chicken yells for the rest to come at him too. Their leader then orders everyone to go after Haru, calling her the easiest target. The thugs charge straight at her, but she slips past them and gets away. The three of them escape while a man watches from above through a window. They rush into a nearby house. Perrin says they should stay there for now, but Haru points out the place is empty. The protagonist notices the mess looks staged, like someone set a trap. Right then, the floor breaks under them. Haru and Chicken drop into a pile of trash. A man shows up and says he was wondering who broke in. Once he recognizes them from earlier, he calls them idiots. Perrin looks up and sees a knife pressed close to Haru's neck. Their captor holds her tight and makes it clear he'll cut her if anyone moves. MC demands to know who he is. The man gripping Haru asks why they came here. Perrin says they followed the radio broadcast. That makes the man's face change. He says he heard it too. He asks why. If that's true, he isn't going to the place with the brightest light. The man laughs, mocking the idea that anyone could have seen the apocalypse coming. He presses the knife even closer to Haru and warns that one lie gets her killed. Then he lunges. Perrin dodges and the fight starts. The protagonist ducks under him and counters, slamming him to the floor. They trade blows as the man swings wildly. MC charges again. The blade cuts his side, but he fights through it and keeps attacking, even though the man avoids every hit. The captor notes that Perrin doesn't fight like a normal thief. He ignores the comment and focuses on moving faster than the man can keep up with, closing in for a takedown. Outside, monsters start gathering, making things even worse. It becomes a deadlock. The captor doesn't loosen his hold, and the protagonist knows one loud sound could bring the monsters in. But if he stays too careful, he won't get close enough. Both sides tense up while Perrin wonders if he should use that energy again. At last he goes for it and jumps in. The captor pauses as MC crouches and gathers his energy, then swings, the force slicing past the man's face. Perrin raises one finger, telling everyone to stay quiet. The captor goes still, then a rope snaps. He starts to complain, but the others glare at him hard. He sits down, suddenly nervous, like he knows they'll jump him if he pushes it. Haru and Chicken trade a look and grin. When he asks what's so funny, they tighten the ropes and spin him around again. He shouts in protest while Haru laughs and asks for one more spin. The man finally demands to know what they want. Perrin says they're only trying to reach the broadcast and gather supplies on the way. The man doesn't buy it, but he says they'll let him go later. They're just being careful after getting tricked before. When he asks how the protagonist moved that fast, the protagonist avoids answering. A sound from above suddenly makes everyone look up. Nearby, they spot a torn-up body beside part of a monster's remains. Chicken and Haru freeze, but the man calmly says it won't attack. It's his sister. He says she's still alive, barely hanging on. Haru asks how that's even possible, and he explains that with injuries like those she should have died already. He thinks the creature attached to her is keeping her alive by feeding off her life. Haru wonders if that can really be called living, thinking about her own brother as she watches the woman suffer. Chicken asks why he doesn't just rip the thing off. The man says he's tried, but its roots are buried too deep. Chicken asks if they can just kill it instead, and the man laughs, saying there isn't some easy core to smash. He adds that he's tested everything, and these monsters don't have a simple weak point like that. The room goes quiet. Then he tells them all to leave. Haru warns that if he pulls anything, they'll spin him around again. Perrin cuts him loose and heads out, telling the others to come on. The man watches them leave and mutters that they're just strangers passing through, and even if they say they know how to kill the thing on his sister, he can't trust that. He asks his sister if she heard them, then notices a teddy bear nearby. He picks it up just as a rope above starts creaking and stretching. Meanwhile, Perrin starts wondering if this whole thing is another trap. He turns back, then realizes something. It's them again. Across the room, a creature rises up through the floorboards. MC grabs his knife, the doll still on the floor beside him as he faces a huge shadowy monster. His eyes turn red and sparks of energy flicker across them. Then even more creepy creatures start pouring in, making the situation way worse. Perrin gets frustrated. He already used up too much energy earlier, and now the monster holding him is draining even more of his strength. As it keeps pulling that energy away, he notices the doll and remembers the promise he made. No matter what, he's going to keep it. A flood of memories hits him. He remembers answering a call and saying he wouldn't be late. Somewhere else, his sister asks with worry how many chances he has left. The captor answers for him. None. He's always had a strange gift. The memory shifts, showing Gu with glowing eyes, looking through possible futures, and predicting how things will play out. He wins every match, but never seems happy about it. When someone asks why Gu isn't celebrating, he says he already knew this would happen. Later, on the phone, He's reminded of their promise to watch a show together. Crestra explains that his power lets him test every outcome, just by watching. When a biker loses control and comes flying at him, Crestra steps aside, lands a hit, and lets the crash happen behind him. He admits his gift can predict events, but using it too much wears him out, and always ends with a bad headache. Asked about the accident, he shrugs it off. His sister then calls to ask what he went out to buy, not knowing it's her birthday gift. With the doll in hand, his phone buzzes, and he suddenly feels uneasy. People around him start staring up, so he looks too and sees a huge dark sphere in the sky. Shaken, Gru watches a twisted monster descend from it. That's when he realizes his power is useless. He can't see clear futures anymore, only chaos and monsters everywhere. He watches the disaster spreading nearby. Then his phone dies, the internet goes out, and explosions shake the ground. Monsters flood the streets. Energy surges through Gru, and clutching the doll, he braces himself to survive as the world falls apart. Gru moves through the ruined city, trying to understand what the monsters really want. Are they hunting human blood, or trying to wipe out all life? When one beast leaps at him, he dodges while counting the distance back to his shelter, focused only on protecting his sister. He finally gets home and notices a trail of blood across the floor. As he follows it deeper inside, he starts putting the pieces together. Then he finds a torn-up body ahead. Knife in hand, he quickly kills the threat. By the next day, the strange planet in the sky is gone, but the monsters are still there. Gru seals every crack in the house, trying to keep them out. Inside, he finds his sister's body twitching with a parasite attached to her. He's already tried and failed to tear it off, but he won't stop after one failure. He promises he'll save her. No matter what, he'll rip that thing off. He starts studying how monsters heal. Each one seems to recover in a different way, and he wonders if there has to be some limit, maybe based on how much they eat. He's also seen them do things besides feeding, and thinks that may be what really drives them. So if he forces the parasite to keep healing over and over, maybe it'll finally wear out and die. He keeps trying to stop its regeneration, but it still won't let go. Gru knows he needs a better plan, and starts thinking of ways to overload its healing, maybe by hitting it again and again. Later, he watches monsters outside through a telescope, and notices they're always drawn to fire, even through barriers, but trying that would be too dangerous. He tests hydrochloric acid, and it slows the healing, but still doesn't kill the parasite. He cuts open a few captured monsters looking for a weak spot, but acid, liquid nitrogen, and nails all fail. Frustrated, he tells his sister he's run out of ideas and still can't kill the parasite. He begs for some sign that she's still in there. Then a rope suddenly pulls tight. Looking down, he finds Chicken and Haru hanging upside down. Back in the present, Gru fights against the monster's grip, feeling like this is the end and there are no futures left. Then Perrin bursts in and slams into the beast. Sparks crackle from his hand as he gets ready to strike. The protagonist drives the monster into the ground. Gru's eyes lock onto a core right in front of him, his vision turning red as power surges through him until it finally bursts out, leaving him shaking and gasping for air. Confused, Gru asks what just happened. Perrin only looks back in silence, while Gru tries to understand how he pulled it off. The others explain, they only came back because someone forgot a bag. MC repeats the key point. You have to hit the core, though most people probably can't see it. Gokar-chin says he can. Remembering the glow he saw in his sister before, Perrin confirms that glow is the core. Gokar asks why it showed up in his sister instead of the monster. Then he says if freeing her means killing her, he'll do it. He explains that as long as her heart is still beating, the parasite won't leave. Gokar looks at his sister, ready to end her pain with his own hands. He picks up a toy rabbit, and wishes her a happy late birthday. Standing over her with a knife, he sees black tendrils wrapped around the core in her chest. She stays still with the toy beside her, while his hand freezes over the final blow. Memories flash back, her smile, their meals together, and her writing on his shoulders. He squeezes her hand tighter, thanking her again and again as he stares at her. Then, to his shock, she barely answers, saying she heard him the whole time. Jin admits he's confused and doesn't know what to do next. Just then, Perrin shows up with Haru and Chicken. They meet Jin as he comes down the stairs. Her last words echo in his head, telling him to do what he wants. Jin pauses, looking from the others back to his sister. Then another monster suddenly attacks. Jin remembers her face, and his eyes turn red as his resolve hardens. He remembers holding her hand and swearing revenge on every monster that stole her from him. Even at the end, she told him to live on and take revenge. Chicken charges first, but the monster knocks him away. Jin leaps in, tendrils bursting from his arm and ripping through the monster. After that, he faces Perrin, gives his name as Jin Go, and asks if he can join them. The last survivor sits there, on edge when footsteps start getting closer. He looks up and sees a group coming down the escalator. Perrin, Haru, and Chicken. The girl with glasses quickly asks if they found anyone else. Jin Gokar introduces himself, then says they can just call him Jin. Haru goes over what they brought back. Food, medicine, and a better map of the area. They only had to stop when a cliff cut them off. Jin is surprised no other group has hit this place yet. The others start wondering if any other survivors are even left. Jin tells them there are 3 groups nearby, and one of them hunts other survivors. Haru realizes it's the same group they ran into before. Jin explains they'll need to pass through that area to get around the cliff. Chicken says the woman from that group still owes him one. Some want another path, but Jin says that route would take too long and be even more dangerous. He says he can handle it, and warns them not to tell anyone about Perrin's bunker training. That gets pushback right away. They ask who made him the boss, but Jin shoots back that he's the smartest one there. Later, the protagonist trains with heavy gear on, fully locked in. Jun asks where that strength comes from, and Perrin says he trained in the bunker his whole life. Jun keeps digging, asking about his workouts and what he used to eat. MC gets uneasy and tells him to stop, but Jun keeps pressing. At last he asks why Jun even came looking for him here. Jun says he followed a light, and now he can see the life force inside people, including Perrin. That brings back something the protagonist's father used to say. Jung wants to know how his dad knew about life force, and why he built a city bunker to train his son. He even calls MC's dad crazy. That stirs up old memories, because his father wasn't always like that. At first he supported Perrin's dream of reaching the surface, but later he became obsessed with preparing for the end of the world, and he pushed back. Jin suggests the father may have known about the monsters or the apocalypse ahead of time. The protagonist admits that could be true. Then Jun asks if he's really sure his dad is dead. Perrin remembers seeing him fall from high up while monsters chased after him. Jin says that still doesn't prove he's dead, and MC may never know for sure. He drops to the floor while Jin says his father might still be alive somewhere. The protagonist answers that if his dad were alive, he would have come back for him already. Jin accepts that, then changes the subject and asks how Perrin moved so fast in their last fight. MC shows him the move and asks if that's what he meant. He says you have to gather your life force into your fingertips, but first, you need to be able to feel it. Jin says he can. His hands begin to shake as he remembers what it felt like when all his energy was drained away. He yells that the feeling is real, that this has to be his life force. Blood starts running from his nose and sparks begin to crackle. Perrin asks if he's okay, but Jin says he's fine, and demands the power to kill monsters. Electricity spreads over his body as he admits he wants to become like him. Then he suddenly loses balance and collapses, with Perrin calling out to him. Jin wakes up in bed and overhears Biome talking with Chicken, who's resting in the next bed. That's when he learns he was out for 3 hours, and realizes his power still won't work. Later at the station, he meets a craftsman, who gives him the weapon he asked for, a blunt wedge. The man warns it's useless on monsters and better at hurting people, but Jin takes it anyway. He's also warned not to use the thin blade on monsters since it could break. Jin says he already has something else for them. Perrin walks in and asks if he's coming. Jin says yes. When the protagonist asks why he's helping, Jin says he wants to understand what's going on with the monsters. Then he asks why MC is so set on finding his mother when he's never even met her. Perrin's answer is simple, because she's his mom. Haru and Chicken arrive, calling them over. He asks if everyone's ready, but Jin says they're still missing one person. The girl with glasses gets picked to come along. Biome and another survivor wish them luck, as the group heads up the escalator. Perrin says he's moving forward to find the people he cares about, while everyone else has their own reasons to go. The protagonist leads, while Chicken and Jin stay a little behind. A distant screech rings out, and dark figures start to appear. Then a sharp voice accuses someone of doing worse than losing people. They left someone behind to die. The woman who once tried to trap Perrin's group starts to explain, but a knife suddenly cuts through the air. A blonde woman says these intruders are different from the usual ones. She remembers a kid who dodged well, and a big guy with a chicken comb haircut. Someone nearby agrees. The silver-haired fighter answers by stabbing a man, calling him livestock. People start whispering about whether the intruders might return. Their leader announces the hideout is going on lockdown, grabs a piece of flesh, and says if the intruders come back she'll eat them herself. Jin explains the plan. They have to pass through the thieves' territory, split into 3 zones, without getting spotted. No fighting. Everyone sneaks. Chicken loves the idea, but Perrin doubts the whole team can get through unseen. He thinks he could do it alone, just not with everyone. Jin just grins and says it'll be fine if they follow his lead. MC points out he could sense life even back in the bunker, while Jin only got that ability after he was captured. Chicken says they're still short a person. Then the girl with glasses shows up, and Jin suddenly snatches her bag, catching her by surprise. He warns the team they're now at the border of the thieves' area. Using the map, he explains the hand signs. A pointed finger means move and avoid enemies no matter what. A closed fist means attack. The retreat sign means run if things go bad, and touching his chin means he's lying. Perrin asks why they'd ever need that weird one, but Jin says it's just a backup and probably won't matter, then tells them to keep going. Chicken agrees with him. They sneak carefully through the area, with Jin guiding them into hiding whenever he senses thieves nearby. At the same time, the thieves are busy whispering about a hidden box they found. Jin tries to signal the group, but Chicken reads it wrong and rushes the thieves instead, dropping one with a punch and brawling with another. One thief starts shouting threats and squares up, but Perrin grabs him and holds him down. The girl with glasses explains Jin meant for them to sneak by, then scolds them for blowing their cover even if they won. Chicken admits he got the signal wrong. Jin says it's fine since no other thieves are nearby, but now they need to decide what to do with the captives. Haru asks if he's really planning to kill them, and Jin moves to do it. Perrin stops him, saying there's no reason to kill anyone. Jin argues the thieves would kill them without thinking, so this is safer, but he doesn't back down. He says he doesn't want to kill, and every time someone is about to die, it hits him hard. Jin asks if the protagonist is really going to risk everything over that, warning that if they get caught, he'll never find his mom. MC says nothing for a moment, then tells everyone to leave before the thieves wake up. Haru sides with him and says killing isn't needed. Jin finally tells the group to move. They push farther in, and more people start showing up. Then a guard spots them and demands to know who they are, saying he's never seen them before. Jingu warns the others that they're too deep in enemy ground and need to get out. The guard shouts, asking what they're doing. Crouched there. Chicken blurts out that they're crouching because this is a top-secret mission. When the guard asks who he thinks he is, Chicken tells him to look at the mohawk and know who he's talking to. The guard pretends to recognize him, and Chicken pulls him away while the others stare. Jin tells the team that if they get split up, they should meet back at base. Perrin asks Haru how far they've come, and she says they're in the middle of Zone 1. They head into a building, where he notices the windows are sealed with bars. Inside, a prisoner begs them to free him, swearing he's not one of the thieves. Then more prisoners appear, terrified and sure they're about to be eaten. Jin asks if they mean by monsters, but the prisoner warns them about a woman called Predator. Perrin repeats the name and thinks about rescuing them, but there are guards all over the place. Jin says they don't have time to help. Haru reminds him of his promise, and he admits he lied to keep everyone calm. The girl with glasses says saving them is too dangerous, and Jin turns to Perrin to decide. The protagonist agrees it's too risky. Jin reminds him that earlier, he wouldn't let him kill the thieves. MC says this is different. He just can't stand killing people. After swatting a mosquito, he pops it into his mouth and eats it. Haru yells at him, but he shrugs and says it's an old habit. She calls him disgusting, and he says it has nothing to do with being hungry. Then he quickly covers her mouth to keep her quiet. Jin gives a signal, pointing ahead, and Haru and the girl with glasses get ready to fall back. Outside, Predator and her squad stop. She sniffs the air and says something nearby smells really good. The group hides below. Another member reports that the livestock farm in Zone B3 got wrecked by monsters, and all the animals escaped. Grinning with her fangs out, Predator demands the full story, and orders the soldier to bring her the eyes. The girl with glasses sees guards rushing off and worries that something serious just happened. At the same time, more prisoners are dragged in wearing blindfolds. The Predator rips off a prisoner's blindfold, mocks him, and demands the monster's weak points. Shaking, the prisoner says the glowing marks are the key. One is at the base of the tail, and another is on the leg. She moves in and pushes for exact details. When he guesses the depth wrong, she threatens to eat his other arm too. Jin notices most of the guards ran off during the chaos, so he says this is their chance. While sneaking ahead, Haru runs into an escaped captive, who says a monster broke the cells and everyone scattered. Jin realizes that's why the guards left, but he says the escapees probably won't last if they don't know the monster's weak points. The man laughs at the idea of killing monsters, then gets stabbed and drops on the spot. A slash takes his head off, and sends it rolling away. The Predator catches the severed head, then she turns to the group, asks who they are, and demands to know what's happening with the escaped livestock. She keeps pressing, accusing them of ignoring her direct order, capture them or kill them. The girl with glasses and another survivor go stiff, unable to answer. Jin looks over at a nearby corpse, a smug smile on his face as he mocks their panic. He says they only acted like allies to learn about the runaways, then complains that the dead man didn't tell them enough. At the same time, he pinches the bespectacled survivor to play along while they're trapped. The Predator warns them not to look suspicious and orders everyone to hunt down the rest of the escapees. She steps up to Jin, studying his face, and says she'd remember someone who looks like him. Jin stays quiet while she circles him, and she tells him to make sure she remembers him next time too. The girl with glasses and the others realize it at once. She knows Jin. She attacks, but Jin blocks and pulls Yunjing clear as blades whip past. Perrin jumps in and catches the Predator's weapon mid-swing. The bespectacled survivor starts freaking out while the Predator grins, now sure of her guess. The scent she noticed earlier really was them, and she calls Jin the source. Her smile widens as she looks him over, saying this group seems way tastier than any livestock. She lunges at him, asking for a bite. Jin throws his blade up to stop her, but she ducks under it, slips past and tries to break away, only to find him already in front of her. Perrin points ahead and the Predator laughs at him. Then she flings her blades, taunting him to catch them. Metal pours down from every side, and just when she thinks she's got him, Perrin snatches the blades out of the air. The bespectacled survivor can only stare in shock as the protagonist takes over, catching, spinning, and redirecting each blade in a blur. It throws the Predator off, and she stumbles in surprise when he bites through one of the blades and grabs even more knives. He fires them back one after another, forcing her to scramble and block the barrage. When Perrin catches her hand, she bites down on his arm and laughs, calling him her favorite. To her, his scent is the best of all. Haru mutters that something smells strange, like it's burning. A flame appears in the woman's hand and she throws it, but the fire dies before it can do anything. Jin smirks and tells her she's too late. The predator screams for everyone to fight to survive. Heavy footsteps thunder closer and monsters rush in from behind. Perrin and the bespectacled survivor brace for the attack. Here, everything is hunter or prey. Another killer is always nearby. The rule never changes: eat or be eaten. Humans used to sit at the top, but not anymore. Now monsters have appeared that are far worse than before, and the old food chain is broken. They rule it now. The monsters glare at the survivors, and our group lifts their heads, drawing the predator's eye. She notices the change in their eyes and challenges them, telling them to prove they really want to live. She shouts for them to show that fire inside. At her order, the monsters charge. Perrin and Jin don't move. Then they rush forward too, their weapons flaring with energy, and blast through the monsters. Spotting the weak points right away, they kill them almost instantly. The noise brings the predator's crew running in. Then Haru is dragged out with a knife at her throat. Perrin and Jin stop cold. Her captor orders them to surrender and explain how they've stayed alive this long, pressing the blade in deeper. The girl with glasses drops to her knees, begging for mercy. Jin quietly tells MC to strike now, but MC says he can't from this angle. The predator jerks Haru around and mocks them. Perrin steps up, his hand starting to glow, but she warns him not to try anything. She says Haru will die either way. Jin tells him not to give in and to attack before she can react, but the predator starts counting down, threatening to kill Haru. Perrin hesitates, scared he'll mess it up, while everyone waits on his choice. Jin's words ring in his head: small losses don't matter, and the mission comes first. The predator counts 3, then 2. The protagonist clenches his fist. Haru braces herself, but when she reaches 1, Perrin suddenly gives up. The predator orders her crew to grab them. Chains lock around MC and Jin, and they're hauled away. Soon they're thrown into a cell. The gate slams shut, and he ends up tied in the dark. Then he hears someone coming. The predator walks in and tells him to stay alive. Perrin doesn't get it, but she says he wouldn't understand anyway. She's only passing along a message. He demands to know where his friends are. She coldly says she killed them. Sitting across from her, the protagonist admits he killed those people too. She laughs, makes him repeat it, then asks if he plans to kill her next. Still grinning, she keeps pushing, saying his reaction proves they were his friends, and reminds him how he froze because of Haru. Perrin thinks it was a 50-50 shot. He's been lucky before, but back then one mistake meant someone died. He remembers how weak he used to be, and now he wonders if getting stronger only made him reckless and dangerous to the people near him. His father's warning about getting close to people finally makes sense. Interested in his skills, the predator starts asking about his powers. She wants to know how he can spot monster weak points, and even wonders if he might be one of them. Perrin just stares while she talks through the idea. Then she directly asks how he sees the weak points. MC blurts out a question of his own. Did someone tell her that? He starts thinking someone else may know this too, maybe even someone tied to his father. Her answer is a kick to the face, followed by another demand for the truth. Perrin glares at her and snaps back, but she isn't bothered and says she's got plenty of time. Next she asks where he's from. She points out how clean his clothes are, and how healthy his whole group looks, then demands to know where their base is. Perrin suddenly lunges at her with bared teeth, but the predator slams him down. She jokes that he must be hungry, because she isn't about to become his meal. He swears he'll never talk. She laughs, and calls him livestock. As she keeps beating him, the predator questions whether he's even human. She asks one of her men what he thinks. He says he can see a light inside people, like the one in monsters, and that she has it too. Looking at Perrin, he says the protagonist's light is brighter than anyone else's. The predator mutters that it must be life force, says he smells delicious, and calls him the most interesting one there. Another man cuts in to report that food is running low, people are getting restless, deaths are rising, and demands for executions are growing. He urges her to find the group's base. She brushes it off and grabs Perrin again, pressing him for answers. When he still won't talk, she suggests a game. Held in her grip, MC glares back. She cuts him and watches the wound heal, taunting him to keep it up. Laughing, she talks about how long she can keep this going. Perrin takes hit after hit, healing each time just to be hurt again. Later, while he lies beaten on the floor, he hears footsteps. A man whispers for him to stay quiet. Perrin recognizes him, and the stranger says he's a prisoner too. He used to be livestock, but his body was changed, and now he can see lights. He asks if he means life force, but the man isn't sure and just shrugs. Then he offers to help Perrin escape. As the man starts to leave, the protagonist quickly asks if he's seen Haru or any new prisoners. The man says no, and warns that people don't like being asked about that. Right then, the predator and her men return and catch them. She ignores his claim that he's one of the eyes, saying they can always make more experiments. The predator taunts MC, asking if he had fun with their little game. He says this torture is nothing compared to what he went through in the bunker. She brings up his friends, then has Haru thrown into the cell. She says Haru gave them nothing, even without water, then grabs her and threatens her. Next she takes Perrin's hand and snaps his fingers. Haru screams at her to stop, but the predator keeps breaking bone after bone, while he stays quiet. She says she'll keep going unless Haru gives up their base. Another finger breaks. Perrin and Haru both scream, and he tells her not to say a word. Outside, a couple of guards whisper about how brutal the captain is, especially with torture going on inside. The predator mocks the protagonist's healing hands, while he silently rages because he can't use his life force. He wonders how she bound him so well and grows frustrated that she doesn't even understand what his power is. She keeps demanding answers, but he gives her nothing. When she asks for their base again, he wavers for a second, then stays loyal. She picks up pliers and threatens to see whether his nails will grow back if she rips them out. Haru is horrified. When the predator finally stops for the day, Perrin is left by himself, with his father's warning echoing in his head that caring about people only brings pain and weakness. Outside, Haru watches what he suffered and feels sick with guilt. MC realizes this all started when he began caring about other people. Haru's fear spikes when the predator comes back and says she'll go for his toenails next. Suddenly, Haru shouts that she'll take his place. The predator looks surprised, then teases her about how much she cares about him. Haru says nothing. Acting bored, the predator changes targets. She grabs Haru and gets her tools ready, while Perrin stays restrained. Haru apologizes, and just before it starts, he yells that he'll cooperate. The predator is pleased, until Jin walks in. She asks where he's been. Jin answers that Perrin is ready to reveal where the base is. Water drips nearby, while Predator smiles. Haru isn't buying it. She knows he wouldn't truly sell them out. Ignoring her, Jin tells the protagonist to listen. He says he has no use for him now. He once thought the protagonist would help him understand monsters. Now he sees him as a letdown who threw away his gift. Then Jin says he's turning on the group and walks off. Once outside, Predator asks why he changed sides. John says it's simply the smart choice. Another survivor laughs at Perrin's group, calling them weak. The girl with glasses admits she never even knew where the map was. She was just following the others. John says they should strike fast because the base has heavy defenses. A quick assault is his plan. Predator likes what she's hearing. The prisoners are brought outside. One of Predator's men asks why Haru and Perrin are coming too. She grins and says it'll be entertaining. Predator wants them to watch their base get destroyed. As they're marched along, Haru tries to talk to MC and apologizes, but he says nothing. When she keeps pleading, Perrin finally gives her an odd look. Jizen asks if everything is set. Predator says everyone's here except the livestock guards. They head up a cliff path. Jizen smiles and says everything's going perfectly. Some survivors don't get why they stopped there. He explains that the city surrounds them. There's no cover, and only one escape route. If monsters appear, getting out will be almost impossible. One underling gets shaky and pulls a weapon. Predator demands an explanation. Jizen signals that retreat comes first. If things go bad, living matters more than fighting. Then he gives one last signal, and Perrin remembers that touching his chin means Jin is lying. That's when he realizes Jizen only faked the betrayal. Haru reacts at once. He tightens his fists. Then he shows the hidden key he'd kept under his tongue, and Haru understands right away. Jizen keeps acting casual under Predator's stare, while quietly flashing two fingers, the sign to attack if needed. While Predator is distracted, Haru unlocks Perrin's cuffs. At last he's free, and power rushes back into him. A soldier warns Predator that the boy got loose. The protagonist twists hard, snaps the restraints apart, and gets ready to fight. Predator's men hesitate. Still, one of them charges in too confidently, even though Predator warns him not to underestimate Perrin. MC steps forward with Haru right behind him. He stomps, cracking the ground. Then one punch crushes a soldier's face. The hit blasts the man away and knocks him out in one shot. The crowd bursts into shouts. Meanwhile, Jizen signals to someone waiting above. That person hits a detonator. An explosion tears through the canyon, and flames burst out. In seconds, the whole battlefield turns into a burning trap. Through the chaos, everyone struggles to figure out what's happening. Then monsters come charging through the fire, roaring. Predator orders a retreat, but panic takes over. Every way out is blocked by fire. She yells for someone to bring her the eye, and tells her people to kill anyone in the way. Haru stiffens when the huntress looks at her and smiles. Then something changes. A light flares up inside her. Her eyes start glowing as power floods through her. She slips past Predator's attacks with shocking speed, catching both of them off guard. Using that fear to push herself, Haru fights back so fast Predator can barely follow. Their eyes lock, and Haru calls Perrin's name. Predator turns as he rushes in, but a blade-wielding fighter cuts him off. The protagonist blocks the strike and shifts the fight. As he closes in, the enemy leader tries to respond, but Haru grabs him and tells him to go. The monsters are almost on top of them. She says they have to leave now. Perrin agrees. Predator refuses to move even as the flames spread closer, but MC kicks her away. He and Haru share a quick look, but behind them, Predator gets back up, while her people call out to her. At the same time, monsters start attacking the survivors. Predator orders everyone to run, and keeps demanding the eye as her crew scrambles. In the middle of it all, Jin calls Perrin's name. He answers, then punches Jin. He accuses him of giving away their secret about life forces. Jin admits it, and says that's why he told them to bind Perrin's fingers. When the protagonist asks why, remembering the torture, Jizin says it was the best choice he had. MC realizes he means it. Jin goes further and says he never even liked him, blaming his hesitation and saying he doesn't deserve that power. Perrin asks why he didn't dodge. Then, if he hates him that much, he could have avoided the hit. Jin stays quiet. At last, he admits he needs the protagonist. MC is silent for a second, then says Jin gets on his nerves. Jin shoots back that he feels the same. Perrin offers a hand and tells him to get up unless he wants to die here. Jin takes it though he makes it clear he's still working toward his own goal. All around them, the chaos keeps getting worse. Survivors grab their weapons as people shout orders to hold the line, and Predator demands to know where the eye is. Her crew says they found him, and one soldier adds that someone stepped up willingly. Predator praises the volunteer, and promises a reward. As a young man comes forward, Chicken watches as the boy pulls down his sleeve, and says he can finally see again. Earlier, Chicken had been taken to a place where a restrained monster was being kept. A man there explained that the experiment almost never worked. Most people died if their bodies couldn't handle monsters. He asked whether Chicken was really sure since this was usually done only to livestock, but Chicken didn't back down. He wanted to keep up with Perrin and Jin, and refused to be left behind. After that, the eye realizes he can see the monster's weak points. Predator yells for him to point them out. Instead, he turns on her and asks if she really thinks he'll help. He flat out refuses and mocks her. One enemy recognizes him as the same guy who attacked them before. Nearby, another teammate panics and begs Predator for forgiveness, after taking Chicken for an ally. She curses the fact that they have no eyes left. As a monster comes in, Predator steps forward. Surrounded by creatures, she says she'll be their eye now. She knows if she's wrong, she's dead. Elsewhere, Haru faces Perrin, and reminds him he always wanted to choose the right path. Then she asks if this plan is really what he wanted. Jin explains that once he surrendered, luring the enemy away from the base was their only real chance to wipe them out. Haru argues it's too risky, and could kill everyone. Jin insists he's seen a future where they all survive. Everyone gets out together. Suddenly, a monster appears in front of him, and he raises his blade. Another one goes after Haru, and a survivor is brought down. The group sees the chaos spreading, when a huge monster bursts up, its body exploding outward. Everyone gets ready. Jin tightens his grip on his weapon. Haru, determined, says they can do this. Electricity crackles around Perrin's fist as he says he's ready too. Then he charges the monsters. One of them roars, while Jin takes on another. Perrin dodges and fires back, while his friend uses his foresight to avoid attacks and aim for the monster's cores, knowing that's what he has to destroy. Then one monster opens a swirling center, and Jin gets hit by a strange sense of deja vu, right as the core glows red and fires a beam straight at him. The blast tears through him, or should have. As Jin freezes while the monster's burning strike nearly cuts him down, but Haru dives in and tackles him clear just before the beam slams into the ground. Shaken, he stumbles, stunned that he's still alive. Haru grabs his arm and says she thought he was in danger. They slide back together, barely avoiding the next attack as the monster keeps pressing them. Jin grips his weapon tighter, realizing this monster has power like Perrin's, the kind that can twist fate. He steadies himself, knowing he'll never have that same strength, but he's still set on finding a way to beat it. Meanwhile, Perrin keeps hammering his monster with punch after punch, dodging its limbs as they regenerate and staying focused on the core. He knows if his strength runs dry, he'll go down too, so he has to finish this fast. The monster's arms whip everywhere, but the protagonist avoids them, breaking bone and tearing through flesh. Power surges into his fists as he smashes his way toward the glowing core. Jin waits with blade in hand, watching for the right moment. He rushes in through the flailing limbs and drives his blade deep into it. The core cracks but still doesn't break. It pulses harder, blue sparks racing through his hand. Perrin appears beside him, shoves with brute force and pours energy into the strike, as the creature convulses. He pushes even harder, slamming the monster back while its core flickers and its tendrils thrash. Haru runs in, ducks under its limbs, but a wild swing knocks her back. She crosses paths with MC as survivors scream for help, and more monsters close in. Elsewhere, the woman who once tried to trap them hauls up a survivor who's about to collapse. Chicken shows up, and reminds her she still owes him. She snaps at him annoyed, but he won't drop it. Cornered, she finally gives in and asks for his help, escaping the battlefield. Meanwhile, Predator watches the streams of life energy moving through the fight, and finally starts to understand Perrin's power. Energy flashes in her eyes as she mutters into a phone about how long she's waited for this. Now that she can see the flow, she wants to know how to use it. After the clash, he checks on the others, but Haru says they're more worried about him. He looks completely drained. He insists he's okay, and keeps moving. Jin watches, thinking Perrin could have handled all the monsters by himself. Remembering his promise to destroy them, Jin feels like dead weight. He looks at the protagonist and wonders who the real failure is. Haru panics, asking where they're supposed to go with fire all around them, but Jin stays calm. He says he has a route through the canyon. When she asks how, he reveals he made a deal with the livestock prisoners. Perrin remembers hearing about a rescue mission and realizes Jen has been behind it. MC hears him say this was the best plan he could come up with. With that, the group runs across the burning ground and jumps into the canyon. Chicken and the woman show up and he greets them. Haru immediately questions why that woman is with them now. Chicken tells everyone to wait, and the woman begs to come along. Jen warns her that one mistake and she's gone. The girl with glasses joins them too, and the group moves out together. Perrin and Jin slide down into the canyon with monsters chasing right behind them. One lands in front of the group and Jin yells for everyone to keep running. If they fight here, they'll be trapped. He tells the others to go on while he handles it. More monsters drop in, and Perrin charges them, blasting a path open while the rest keep moving. He and Jin keep moving, pushing the others to stay with them. While they run, the protagonist thinks about his life force. It boosts his power fast, but it burns through his stamina just as fast, so it's best used in short bursts. He charges up and drops another monster with a punch. Then he figures out the longer he holds that charge, the stronger he gets, but the drain gets worse too. He used to last less than 2 minutes. Now he's getting better by controlling how much power he puts out. He asks where the base is. Jin tells him, and the girl with glasses says she knows the way too. Then the canyon suddenly starts to crack and shake. The ground gives way, and everyone falls. Jin realizes one wrong step could have gotten all of them killed. Haru hurts her leg and can't stand right. Perrin checks on her and asks if she can walk. She says she'll do her best. At the same time, one survivor tries to run and slips, even after Jin warns everyone to be careful. Chicken and the woman panic, sure they're dead without MC. Still, Chicken tells her he'll protect her, and to stay close. A monster suddenly rakes its claw across her side. Jin calls out to Chicken as another monster attacks. He blocks it with his weapon, but he gets knocked down while more creatures close in. Haru's leg gives out, so Perrin picks her up and runs. With monsters right behind them, he leaps across the canyon with her. He covers Haru as they hit the ground. Then he steadies himself as more monsters rush in. Perrin blasts one away and keeps running through the chaos with Haru in his arms. Back there, Jin keeps fighting, swinging both blades at the monsters. Chicken brings one creature down, then realizes the woman is gone. They were only together for a short time, but he still saw her as a comrade. He says Jin is a comrade too, and tells him not to fight by himself. The two brace for another wave as the monsters keep coming. More monsters pour into the canyon, but Perrin holds his ground and blocks their attacks before driving forward. One beast charges him, and he pounds through it with punch after punch until its core pops free. But the strain is catching up to him. One monster cuts his side, and another smashes him in the face. Haru begs him to run and save himself, but he won't leave her. Perrin steps in front of her and says there's no way he's losing her now. Haru is hit with guilt, thinking all of his pain is because of her, and everything he's been through. Even hurt, the protagonist keeps fighting, and remembers how much meeting her changed him. Meanwhile, Haru is sure all of this is happening because of her. She breaks down, blaming herself for his pain and everything he's suffered. Perrin shields her and admits maybe none of this would have happened if they'd never met, but he doesn't regret meeting her at all. He thinks about everyone who's come into his life. Gu, Jin, Chicken, Haru, and Biome, and realizes they taught him how to trust. Now he really believes in people. Suddenly a monster grabs him, and flames flare up. Haru screams, asking why he keeps going this far to protect her. Through gritted teeth, Perrin yells that it's because he cares about her. The answer leaves her stunned. Then his father's voice echoes in his head, mocking him, saying trust only brings pain and betrayal. MC hears it, but he refuses to give in. He says he still believes in kindness, warmth, and the good he's seen in people. He's done walking the old path. The monsters close in. Power surges through Perrin. As Haru watches, lightning rips across the battlefield, and tears through the monsters. He pulls Haru close and vows he won't let her die. He holds her as the monsters swarm, then unleashes a burst of energy that blows through them. Haru gasps as Perrin pushes past his limit and wipes out everything around them, but the effort is too much. He staggers, collapses, and she runs to him, calling his name. Another monster comes in, and the protagonist tries to stand. He admits he's out of energy, then drops again as the creature looms over them. A memory rushes back. Little Perrin, hearing his father warn that his heart would only bring pain, and telling him never to go to the surface. His father said MC would always be drawn to people and get hurt for it, so he could never be allowed outside again. But he also said if he ever chased his dream, he'd have to become stronger, even stronger than him. Back in the present, the monster moves closer. Haru watches in fear while his father's voice keeps echoing. He has to become strong enough to face anything, and still reach for what he wants. Using every bit of strength left, Perrin forces himself back up. Lightning gathers in his hand as his father's words ring out. sky's the limit. He slams the ground, and power explodes outward. The protagonist seizes the monster's power, hearing his father's words about their blood and the blue flame. He tears the core out, as the voice repeats, "This is the power of the blue flame." The monster's core flickers while Jin watches nearby. Chicken says the experiment let him see weak points now. He calls it life force and says it's inside them too. As the monsters close in, Jin hangs back while Chicken charges straight at them. Jin notices he's fighting wildly, instead of aiming for weak spots, and he knows that kind of reckless attack will just get him hurt. Chicken yells for Jin to stay back. He wants to take the monster on himself. That only makes Jin more worried. Chicken gets hit and falls, but he forces himself back up and dares the monster to come again. Meanwhile, Perrin gets trapped in tendrils and slips back into childhood memories, and his father's warnings. He remembers hearing over and over how dangerous the surface is, and how getting close to people only leads to trouble. MC starts wondering why his father never trusted other humans. While he struggles to move, Haru keeps calling to him, but her voice is drowned out by his father's words. The bunker is safe, and following the rules is the only way to survive. Perrin remembers pretending to be asleep, then hearing his father confess the real threat isn't the apocalypse, it's other humans. He doesn't know what to feel, wanting answers but hating the secrets too. His father warned that if the world learned what he really is, everyone would hunt him down for being different. The memories blur together, and as Perrin's life force weakens, a strange hunger starts to grow. He grabs his chest and reaches for an orb. The second he touches it, power erupts from his body. A dark monster bursts out and spreads wide. Haru calls out while the protagonist clings to it. Then his eyes snap open. He's back. Haru tries to reach him, but an enemy attack nearly hits. Just before it lands, a glowing force shields him. When he steadies himself, he sees the girl with glasses there, clearly relieved he's alive. Jin says they can't fight like Perrin can, so they need to get out now. He calls for Chicken to move. Chicken charges forward, set on holding the monsters back. He tells Jin to run because that's what teammates do. Jin hesitates, but Chicken's resolve doesn't waver, and they finally make a break for it. Jin hears those words from Chicken, and can't fully understand them. Would he really throw his life away for something that simple? Jin grips his sword tighter. Then a monster swings at Chicken. Jin shouts a warning and rushes in, meeting the blow with his blades and blocking hit after hit. As he fights, he runs through every survival outcome in his head, and realizes he could still escape if he left now, just like Chicken told him to. But then he thinks about Perrin, who never does what's expected, and always carves out his own path. Jin admits he's always just watched from the side. He remembers losing his family to monsters, and how he only ever gave up when there was truly nothing left to try. He firms up his grip, lands a clean strike, and thinks that if he had MC's power, this battle would be easy. He shouts that he could have chosen his own fate. Chicken calls his name as the monsters close in. Jin admits to himself that he's powerless, nothing like Perrin. For a moment, he thinks maybe this desperate way of living is all he knows. Then he stops and asks himself why he's even living like that. His sister's face flashes through his mind, and her words come back to him. He remembers promising her he'd get revenge and wipe out every last monster. Surrounded, Jin tightens his grip and charges straight at them. Right then he decides being weak isn't an excuse. He has to grow stronger no matter what, and kill them all. He realizes he doesn't need to follow Perrin's road, he can make his own. Facing the monster, he remembers him telling him to draw power from his fingertips, and tries to use his own strength. He steps forward and feels something new ignite inside him. His resolve turns into power, and he swears he'll destroy every monster. Jin thrusts his hand out, sending a blast of energy at the enemy. Drained but focused, he pulls strength from his promise, and his memory of his sister. He pictures Perrin beside him, then steadies his hand. Sparks burst from his palm and slam into the monster's chest. The creature is blown apart, and Jin tightens his grip on his sword, ready for more. He pushes ahead and cuts through the monsters coming from every side. Strike after strike lands until the creatures are piled on the ground. The girl with glasses stumbles over, dragging Perrin with her. Then he notices movement. Chicken and Jin are still alive. They head over, and when she asks what happened, Chicken says they barely survived because of Jin. But when she asks about the missing woman, he goes quiet. Haru says they need to leave, but the girl with glasses warns that someone is waiting ahead. Before she can explain, footsteps cut her off. Predator steps right into their way. They demand to know why she's here. Predator walks forward, throwing out accusations and calling them traitors. She warns them what happens to anyone who betrays her, even bringing up the woman who died. The girl with glasses fires back with an insult, but Predator just calls her slow. She still tries to act confident, saying they have the upper hand, but a sudden flash shuts her up. Chicken gets hit and stabbed through the arm. He shouts at Predator never to talk about that woman again. She was their comrade. Predator brushes that off, saying comrades mean nothing. To her there's only predator and prey. She steps closer and says survival is all that matters. Chicken doesn't flinch and stands up to her. Predator's weapon starts crackling, and she says it's dinner time. She lunges with electricity flashing around her, then slashes across his chest and boasts that she's mastered life force. Electric sparks flicker around the phone in her hand. When they ask how she learned that, Predator says she copied it from some kid with a weird fighting style. She notices 2 bodies on the ground and wonders where the rest went. Then she realizes they've already run far off. She says she'll just follow the trail of blue energy to catch them. A voice suddenly crackles through Predator's phone, ordering her to stop the second she mentions the blue energy. That only makes Predator more irritated. She glances at the bodies around her, and when Haru warns her not to come closer, Predator just laughs and dares her to try something. Predator rushes in, but Haru slips away and bolts. Lightning snaps from Predator's hand as she chases after her, grumbling that Haru is getting annoying. She catches Haru by the hair, mocking her for how fast the strength is leaving her body, and saying she'll never walk again. Then Perrin cuts in with a slash, forcing Predator to let Haru go. She's caught off guard to see him standing there, ready to fight. After throwing Haru aside, Predator turns fully toward him. Perrin lunges first, but Predator avoids it. Sparks jump from her hand as she lines up another strike. She unleashes a wild barrage, shouting for the protagonist to entertain her. Finally she says, someone can keep up. Then she makes him a sick offer. Even if he loses, she says she won't kill the others. She'll only cripple them so they can't escape. Then eat them and use what's left for experiments. Perrin gets back on his feet and swears he'll make her pay for everyone. Haru watches as he lifts his hand. Predator tells him to stop holding back, but then she spots blue flames flickering on his fingertips. He concentrates, forms a hand sign, and blue sparks start to crackle. Predator braces for what's coming. Then she suddenly jumps in and slashes at Perrin's hand, calling him boring. A moment later, MC is on the ground, soaked in blood, with one arm gone. Haru screams his name. Predator stands over him with her weapon ready, making fun of how that fire in him is gone now. She sneers that he used to want to live, but now he looks hollow, like all his energy has drained away. Haru clenches her fists and charges, catching Predator off guard for a second, but her swing misses. Predator laughs at her, calling her a rookie and a coward. Haru crashes down but still refuses to quit, staring her down while Predator tells her to keep struggling. Suddenly, Chicken notices movement behind him and stumbles. He turns and sees Perrin starting to move, eyes fixed ahead. A buzzing sound grows louder, as an insect lands on his head. Still dazed, he watches it crawl toward his severed arm. His fingers twitch, the buzzing gets stronger, and the arm starts moving. The insect then drifts over to Predator, buzzing around her head. That sound triggers a memory. Perrin once tried to swat a bug away while his father asked what he was doing. He said he wouldn't do it again, but his father kept pressing him for why. The boy answered that the bug was blocking his view. Back in the present, Predator says she's done messing around, and warns Haru she'll end up just like Perrin. Then she goes still as the protagonist begins to rise, and she can't make sense of what she's seeing. Bright red energy suddenly erupts, and MC's missing arm grows back as a huge clawed monster limb. The buzzing swells as that new arm lashes out, sending Predator crashing down while Haru watches. Red energy now crackles all over Perrin's body. He remembers telling his father that the buzzing always felt like a signal, pushing him to catch the bug and eat it. He screams as the change keeps spreading. By the time he towers over Gu, he's become a full monster, covered in red growths, his face twisted beyond recognition. A giant creature charges in, roaring and smashing the ground, and Perrin meets it head-on. They collide, and the beast turns into an orb. The protagonist bites into it and takes in its power. Gu sees that and yells Perrin's name, accusing him of being one of the monsters, then fires an energy blast. MC blocks it with his claws and keeps coming. He drives one claw straight through Gred's chest, then throws him aside. Chicken shouts in shock, but Perrin whips around and slashes at him savagely. At last he turns to Haru, grabbing her with that monster arm. He hangs over her while she struggles to break free. Perrin bites into Haru's shoulder and squeezes her with all his strength. She smacks him across the side of the head, and he freezes before he can bite deeper. Haru shouts his name, trying to bring him back, but he only growls and starts choking her. She fights back and lands a punch across his face. That hit snaps him out of it. He realizes what he's done, and the monster sparks start fading. Perrin just stands there, staring at Haru's limp, bloodied body. He calls her name and looks over at the others lying around. The girl with glasses screams at him to stay away, calling him a monster. Perrin looks at the wreckage, wondering if he really caused all of it. The survivors can only stare in shock. A man hiding nearby blames someone else for not warning them, and the panic grows as Biom walks in. The protagonist sees him and goes still, recognizing him at once. As Biom gets closer, Perrin yells for the scientist to stay back and blames him for all this, but Biom ignores him and walks right past. Another survivor shows up and studies MC, asking if he's a monster, while most of the others stay away. Then a hooded man appears, and when someone asks if he's getting close too, he only gives a faint smirk. Purim and someone else start treating the wounded. Elsewhere, a man explains that he met Gucci at a looter base and made a deal. He'd save Gucci if Gucci helped free his friends, who were being kept like livestock. When asked, he confirms he came from the same place Piran's group had been trying to reach. Chicken insists he's okay, though Biom flinches and tells him to rest if he needs to. Someone asks if that place is tied to the radio broadcast, and the man says yes, surprised Q hasn't already explained. The survivors ask about the place and the broadcast, but he says it's a long story, and promises it'll make sense soon. He says looters grabbed him while he was searching for survivors, then asks Bayom how his friend is doing. Bayom says they're alive, just badly underfed. Then everyone's attention shifts back to Perrin, as the man reveals that he turned into a monster and attacked his own group. Others back that up, pointing out how fast he healed and how his arm grew back right in front of them. The man says at least the protagonist managed to kill Predator. Kak though thinks Perrin may not have known about that monster side of himself. Then the man says he also saw red energy coming from Kak, which seems suspicious. Kak explains that it's life force. When the man asks what that is, Gu can't believe he doesn't know, especially if he's planning to fight monsters. The man admits fighting was never part of their plan. They wanted to stay unnoticed. A woman says Least was the one on the radio, and the man adds that Least claims to know of a weapon that can kill monsters instantly. He says it all sounded crazy before, but after seeing this battlefield, he can't brush it off anymore. Gobayom asks what he's talking about, but the man dodges the question and says they'll understand later. When someone points out how fast he accepted life force, he says nothing makes sense anymore. They're living under a strange planet in the sky, and monsters attack every 6 days. Gobayom wonders if those attacks will ever stop. The group talks about how the invasion started out of nowhere, and then the man asks where Perrin is. Gobayom says he's nearby, but staying away from everyone. MC has cut himself off because he's scared he'll hurt someone again. Most of the others feel safer with him at a distance, though the man admits he might not have come if he'd known. Bayom says they haven't known Perrin very long either. Later, he tells the girl with glasses to hide his things. When she asks why, Gayom says the newcomers might not be trustworthy. The group agrees to keep the protagonist secret. A man named Hui Min says he hopes they can all survive together, but then realizes someone is missing. Right then, the hooded man from earlier steps forward, and one survivor says he helped carry the injured. As the hooded man walks up to Perrin, someone asks who he is. The moment he shows his face, MC stares in shock. Someone remarks that this hooded guy is the strangest one there. He hasn't spoken once. Clive tries to sense the life force around him, but gets nothing from the hooded man, which puts him on edge. Perrin asks what he wants. The hooded figure lowers his hood, revealing red hair and golden eyes. He asks who he is, but the stranger just stares back in silence. Then the red-haired man starts speaking in a language Perrin doesn't know. The protagonist keeps asking what he's saying, but no one answers. After a pause, the stranger goes quiet, takes a step back, and pulls the hood over himself again. 2 more people arrive, saying they've been looking for the hooded man. One of them starts to speak, but Perrin cuts in, asking about Chicken, Gua, and Haru. Bayom tells him Chicken and Gua are awake, but Haru is still unconscious, though she's alive. Overwhelmed with guilt, MC blames himself. He admits he tried to attack Haru, and even wanted to eat her. Then he realizes what scares him most. It wasn't rage or guilt pushing him, but the fact that he liked it. One survivor tries to comfort him, saying he doesn't believe Perrin is that kind of person. Perrin agrees, adding that even when he gets angry, he still has the strength to fight it. They remind him that his kindness and how he always puts others first prove he's not a monster. Another survivor says they've met truly awful people before, but Gyu disagrees. He compares Perrin to the monsters above ground, walks up to him and keeps calling him a monster, daring him to prove otherwise. Gyu says he saw the protagonist nearly attack someone else too, and that he's no better than the crazy woman outside. To Gyu, MC is a monster inside and out. Perrin questions why Guo is being so harsh, and Guo admits that even if he sees him as a monster, they still need him. His strength and what he knows could help them understand the creatures. That doesn't mean Guo trusts him, just that he trusts Perrin to do something useful next. Chicken teases Gu, then says they should check out the source of the radio broadcast. Guo asks what he means. Chicken explains it's a place run by a man who got ready for the apocalypse ahead of time. Guo says they're ready to move. Perrin hopes meeting that man might also teach him more about his mother. Still, he can't shake what he did to his friends, so he swears he'll get control of himself and never lose it like that again. Suddenly, a dark voice echoes inside his head, and the protagonist screams as red tendrils burst from his body. They thrash wildly, while Chicken and the others rush in to hold him down. Go starts charging electricity, but Chicken stops him. Even with the tendrils tightening and Perrin fighting against them, Chicken refuses to let go and keeps him pinned until the energy finally dies out. He tells MC everything is different now. Perrin and the others remind him he isn't alone. Perrin struggles, mumbling no as the tendrils writhe, but he insists he won't hurt his friends again. He grabs the tendrils, rips himself free, and says he doesn't know what lives inside him, but it won't control him anymore. He'll never let it win. But the monster's voice keeps trying to drag him back into the dark. Perrin struggles to tear himself loose. A sudden flash bursts out, and he snaps back to his friends with red light in his eyes. Perrin and the others stare, catching the last bit of that power still left in him. Then Roll walks up. She slaps him and tells him to pull himself together. Calling out to Perrin, she helps drag him out of the monster's hold, and the darkness finally fades. Their supplies are in good shape. Chicken and another helper say they have almost enough for a month. The girl with glasses is still on edge, checking on Haru again and again. Perrin says seeing his monster side really shook her. She's scared of what happens if Haru never wakes up. Still, the woman tells him, everyone is just thankful. Haru survived. Someone asks when they're heading back, and another points out it's already been more than a month since they left. He wants to return now, but Hoi says they're nearly done. He introduces Jin Go, praises him for handling the looters, and says the group is ready to move. Jin greets them and says he'll lead them back to base. Ricky asks how he's doing. Jin waves it off, set on getting back to training. Ricky warns him not to mess with his life force too much. Jin says he just wants to get stronger, and he won't make the same mistake again. Ricky lets out a worried sigh, unsettled by how intense Jin sounds. The woman nearby speaks up. She says the shirt she made for Perrin is completely wrecked now. The weapon maker jokes that at least the shirt came back. He adds that he lost a weapon outside, but gear can be replaced, people can't. She teases him and he fires back right away. He reminds her he's still doing his job to keep everything going. Not far away, the girl with glasses notices a hooded person sitting alone and asks if he wants to learn the language. He nods, so she guesses he's not from here. That must be why he stays quiet. She tells him she'll teach him fast. Then she asks what word he wants to learn first, and he motions for the word apocalypse. She says it slowly and helps him repeat it. He manages to say it, then keeps repeating the word to himself. At the same time, Perrin trains in silence, whispering apocalypse under his breath, while remembering that Haru's voice pulled him back. He knows he might have lost himself without her, and next time she may not be there to save him. Whenever he starts losing control, the thing inside him tries to take over, so he decides to master his life force. He thinks back to that last battle, when his power spiked and he felt stronger than ever, but now he can't reach that same state, no matter what he does. He remembers Haru touching him and wonders if copying that moment will help. Perrin decides not to give up yet. He pushes his body, sprinting at full speed. Over and over, he tells himself he has to protect his people and grow stronger. He runs until he drops. Even then, he refuses to quit until he can use that power again. Chicken and the others get ready to leave, and Huiki says they've hit a wall, so it's time to go back. Then a can suddenly falls. The noise draws monsters in, and a young man freezes as they rush him. Jin jumps in at once, lightning bursting from him as he tears through the monsters. Everyone starts shouting, asking what's going on, but Jingu doesn't move, his eyes glowing with power. A spiked ball-like monster goes for Huiki, and he panics, sure he's dead. Then everything stops. The spikes hang just inches from his face. A blue flash cuts through. Energy rips across the air, and Perrin appears. He smashes straight through the monster, blowing it apart while Huiki stares in shock. The others ask what just happened, stunned that the protagonist's bare hands tore the creature up. Jin asks if he got stronger. Trying to catch his breath, Perrin says he finally copied what he did before. Still, he says it's not enough. He has to get stronger if he wants to protect the people he cares about. Jin lays out the plan. Track down the strange radio signal, and meet the man claiming he prepared for the apocalypse. They need answers. Later, MC sits beside Haru. He tells her to rest and promises he'll come back stronger. Then he keeps training, forcing his life force under control as his veins swell and his eyes begin to change. Chicken, Gu-jin and the others watch as one of his eyes turns strange. He manages to pull it back under control. Bingguang calls out, telling him to wait, but Chicken just asks if he's okay. Perrin's red eye stares forward while a dark figure rises in his mind. Even so, he says he's fine. The group keeps moving through the ruins. Later, someone wandering around finds a pair of broken glasses and is shocked by how badly smashed they are. Others come over and one gets called out for slacking off, trying to act casual until the leader spots the glasses. He goes pale and demands to know where they found them. The answer? They were just lying there. Then someone recognizes the chain on them and urgently says they need to leave now. It's too dangerous. Another thinks they just got lucky and doesn't get why everyone's panicking. The leader explains those glasses mean their owner is still alive. Someone else says he saw him earlier, along with fruit and signs of a fight, and insists they warn the others. Then a figure steps out. At once, everyone realizes it's the man they fear. The most terrified of them starts panicking as he comes closer. Perrin's father shows himself and tells them to go ahead and report that he's alive. The frightened leader tries to laugh it off, but the older man snatches up the glasses. The scared man can barely get his words out, then suddenly screams while the others stand frozen. One man pulls a knife and demands to know who Perrin's father is and whether he led him here. He ignores the question, mocks them and says they're just unlucky. Stepping closer, he raises a fist glowing blue and says that now they've seen him. None of them are leaving alive. The group realizes there's only one person with blue energy like that. Someone yells that it's him. They scramble to get ready for a fight. Perrin's father only smirks, then releases a blast of energy that slams into the whole group.